yo, I'm feeling Smiz, I'm feeling Driz, we making history, we that wave. Hey yo, peace Vandals and Vandalettes, it's your motherfucking boy Facts on Wax, and right now, you watching the Vandal Hour Season 3 live on DTFradio.com. So make sure you check us out each and every Saturday from 11 p.m. to 1 a.m. You can also catch us live on our TuneIn app. You can also catch us live on that motherfucking Ustream page, but remember, you gotta do that when we on live. I state facts, and I will never lie to you. And you can also catch us live on our motherfucking website, which is www.thevandalhour.nyc. So tell a friend to tell a friend, we making history, we that wave. Yo, our website, that shit is popping. We got an online store, more behind the scene pics, footage, and more. And I know tonight y'all wanted to see DJ Swift, but he ain't in the building, and we got DJ Quest. And if you want to learn more about the motherfucking Vandal Hour, you could go to YouTube. You could type DTF Radio or DTF Radio to Vandal Hour in that motherfucking search, and you see the icon and logo, click that. That should take you to season 1 and 2. And it'll take you to some real wavy shit called the Vandal Hour on scene, you heard? And we making history. Yo, comrade, what the fuck is poppin'?
Peace, peace. What's going on? First of all, let me say pardon self because I wasn't here last week. I didn't make it to the show. So shout out to y'all for holding down the show. I wasn't able to make it last week. But you know what it is, Facts. We got another dope show planned for everybody tonight. Listen, man.
Yo, fellas.
What's up?
I heard niggas say loyal men win, right? And then if that's the case, we doing DJ self numbers. That mean we winning. You heard?
You already. Listen, man. It's an exciting night. You know, it's season 3 for everybody who follows us. Shout out to all our followers that stay with us since day 1. Yeah. You know, 2 years, 2 months strong. Season 3.
We banging.
If you tune in live, you see the set is looking a little different. I think we broke the DTF record for mics on set right now.
That's
we got about
11. We got about 15 mics on deck.
Altogether, about 15 mics on the set. So let me say this, man. Shout out to everybody who supports the show. You know we like to keep it funky. We like to switch it up. We like to entertain the people, keep our viewers involved with what's going on. And tonight we're gonna have a dope situation that's going down.
I was just having Coronas and pizzas with a few motherfucking NYC legends.
Listen, the vibe in the building is very good. Is a high energy in the building. There's a lot of big names.
We got generations in the building. You heard? Yeah, we got generations.
A lot of names. I'm pretty sure a lot of you people that are tuned in tonight have heard before. Now, let me just say
Get
this.
Them notebooks ready. Take notes.
You know how the Vandal Hour is. We support the culture from the bottom to the top of it. And we expect you guys to hold us down and support us as well. With that being said, there's going to be a new segment being introduced today.
What's that?
By the God Sade, TCM. He will be doing When Writers Put Down the Paint.
Okay.
It is a version of the writers sit down at like a round table and have a discussion on graffiti and the graph culture and what it means to them and a lot more topics. Listen, I got to kick it with some of the guys before we came into the show, and they're going to have a real deep conversation. And when I tell you it's too many names to name, you must be tuned in to watch.
Yo, you know what's crazy? I feel like I'm in the projects right now. You know? I'm sitting on top of the bench, man, and I'm doing my hustle like I did my hustle from that bench. I'm doing it from the same bench, but we at DTF Radio, you heard? We at the spot, the block, you heard?
We making history.
Yeah, man. I mean, it's hard work. Don't think, you know, you see us every once a week on Saturday nights. A lot goes on.
We still get it popping.
Yeah, you know what's crazy?
The Karma Lounge.
They be thinking like we just a Saturday night show.
Yeah, no, listen, man. We got lives out of these shows, and we still keep in tune with each other. We still doing what we got to do to survive in these streets. You know what I mean?
Niggas is still smoking and joking and all that good stuff. You heard? Niggas is still smoking. Niggas is still grinding.
We gonna be 420 friendly whether they legalize it in New York or not.
Regardless.
You know how that goes.
And don't be surprised if you see us in Colorado sun surfing with some marijuana.
Yes.
Yo, for our loyal followers, like our next move gonna be our best move, and y'all gonna, when y'all see it, y'all gonna be like, yo, I'm proud of those motherfuckers. Like I know they could do it. And to the niggas who doubted us, like your face gonna look like you ate a Sour Patch. It's gonna look crazy.
You already. So shout out to the supporters once again. Listen, man, we keep y'all update with everything that's going on in this hip hop and graph culture, and we got a lot of history in the building tonight.
Wait, time out. We got some people in the building. We got first of all, as my man Facts on Wax said, we got DJ motherfucking Quest in the motherfucking building. That's part of the family, man. That's part of the family. If you didn't know,
now you know, nigga.
And
No one's half the battle.
You already know. No one's half the battle. G.I. Joe shit. You heard? So check this out. And we got my man. What's my man? Dwell over there?
Yes, sir.
That's my man Dwell over there on that camera, doing what he do. You know, he coming to support the Vandal Hour Guards. And you know, my man is always to the fuck the right of me, to the left of me, whatever. He's always there. The Vandal Hour Guard, Dre Killz Films in the motherfucking building. Yeah.
Welcome back.
And he like at 95%. He said he still bust your niggas ass.
Shout out to Dre Killz, man. Glad to see you on your feet and doing what you love, man, behind the camera. This guy is a jack of all trades, by the way. Make sure you follow him on Instagram, Dre Killz Films.
Yo, wait, tell me, before we even go into
that
everything
nigga
else,
cut your hair, tattoo, and film it all at the same damn time.
He just did an L tattoo this week that I seen. The shit looked bonkers. If I'm not mistaken, it had Batgirl, and it also had Dr. Freeze or Mr. Freeze.
Oh, you was just getting
doing
crazy.
some cutting shit. Well,
okay,
that was just look kind of crazy. Look kind of crazy. I'm not gonna lie to you.
That's what's up.
So make sure you check out his page. If you want them tats done, make sure you check out my man Dre Killz Films.
There you go, man.
And if you got a fucking LeBron headline, you trying to recover it, holla at my boy. He'll bring that back.
Yo, shout out to K San Reno, man. Make sure you follow him, New Yorican, on Instagram. Vandal Hour family holding us down. Listen, y'all, real quick, I want to get into some things. A lot of things going on. Speaking about next move, best move. Nicki Minaj made a move. She separated with Meek Mills, and recently
her crib got broken.
That also, her crib has been robbed after she broke up with Meek Mills.
You think Meek went in there to go get some mills, or he seen some goons?
Wait, time out. It happened after the picture where Drake came out. If I'm not mistaken.
A picture, well, not came out.
Oh, the one with Drake and Lil Wayne.
Drake and Nicki Minaj actually released a picture together before anything, and everybody thought it was kind of, you know, shocking after the breakup.
Some petty shit she did.
Yeah, you could definitely add that to the petty family.
He should have liked it, because that's if you're gonna keep it petty, I'm gonna keep it petty with you. Bang.
Crazy, you're absolutely right, because he deleted his Instagram page right after that whole situation had went down, and then days later, or a week, or maybe a week later, Nicki Minaj's house in California was robbed.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
Hopefully Meek still dream chasing.
Somebody's chasing their dreams out there. Somebody chased that dream all the way into Nicki Minaj's house and robbed her. I'm not sure of what. Also, y'all, Beyonce, Jay-Z, you already know.
Yo, bitches get pregnant every day, B.
But they don't be having twins.
Shout out to Beyonce, man. Jay-Z's wife is.
Some girls do, because they fuck two niggas at the same damn time.
Yo, that picture was fucking killing me on the gram with her with all the flowers. It looked like a Snapchat picture.
Oh my God, yeah. They
called like a big Snapchat.
She called some flack over that behind the whole. They called Kim K a hoe for doing that, and then Beyonce. There was a whole war going on Instagram between like the Beehive and the Kardashian fans. They're like going at war.
That shit all a money scheme.
Nah, that's because the two dudes got beef. The bitches is beefing now.
But definitely shout out to Beyonce. They just announced that they'll be having twins. So shout out to Jay-Z and Beyonce.
Shout out to iCloud be leaking the news and shit.
Also, listen, y'all. 420 just happened. 420 event. Released Mathematics. Did an event. They released the company of the pastries, and I heard it was an epic turnout.
Yo, last night we launched me and DJ Swift launched our edible company. You know, exotic shit, exotic edibles. You know what I mean? It was a great groovy night. A lot of people came through. Shout out to the reality check show for coming through. Shout out to the two white girls that came through. Shout out to the two African girls that came through.
I saw the two white girls picture in the bar. I saw them.
Yeah, you see that, right? You see Shorty eyes? Oh my God.
The two African girls in the picture too.
I saw that one too.
Shout out to everyone who came through, supported. We had a great event. We're going to be doing it again February 24th, so we'll be coming right back to T-Rock's at Homestyle.
And they got some slamming ass food over there too.
Yeah, it's gonna be crazy. So make sure you check out whoever you're following. You're going to see a fly on it. It was dope, man.
We doing the damn thing.
And also, facts real quick. I seen
What up?
there's a video all over Instagram. Shout out to Jux Diamond,
Oh, yeah.
and Greasy. You already know.
Shout out to Greasy on me for making that happen.
You definitely. I seen that. What's going on? Tell me a little bit about that Jux Diamond video.
Ain't shit. I walked into the motherfucking station last week and I'm like, oh shit, it's popping in here. So you know me. I told Math, I'm like, yo, everything that's going on, I want in and we gonna kill shit.
Now they came here for us. This is between me and y'all. If y'all didn't know, they came for the video was supposed to be at the Vandal album.
This was one of the plot scenes.
Yeah, that was one of the plots of the joint. So
I actually posted a clip too, like when the homie Jux was spitting on the mic and shit. Like I recorded and I threw that on my page today. Just know we grinding and we making noise in these streets.
if I'm not mistaken, they're supposed to be out by next week. If I'm not mistaken,
Shout out to Jux Diamonds and make sure you go check that
Word.
out.
he's gonna be at DJ Swift's party on Tuesday.
That's at Karma
Performing,
Lounge.
performing.
February 7th.
When he
Karma
performed, the
Lounge.
building
Plug.
be crazy.
Yo, make sure y'all come out to Karma Lounge on February 7th. We're gonna have a lot of people performing. Butter Nano, who just dropped his album
Classic
on Friday,
Files.
the Classic Files, will be performing.
Okay.
We got Jux Diamonds performing. We got Sin City performing, and we're gonna have all art from past shows. So all the art from our past art shows is gonna be at our event on Tuesday
So
at
that's a
Karma
lot of
Lounge.
headers in the building, a strongbow unit and all.
You
Yeah,
already
yeah,
know.
yeah.
Tell a friend to tell a friend.
And listen, I took the following day off, so I'm staying the whole night this time. I'm staying the whole event, man. I'm rocking out with y'all till y'all go on.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, man. We've been killing Karma Lounge like some
Oh,
good
man.
pussy, man. They want us there on a regular basis, so make sure y'all come through. To Karma Lounge on these Tuesdays. It's not every Tuesday, but we got a whole lot of them. So make sure y'all come through to that shit, man.
Shout out to Karma Lounge. And listen, man,
Poppin'.
for the people that might not be familiar with this part of the show, but this is when we get into This Week in.
The Vandal Hours motherfucking news.
All right, y'all. What's poppin'? You already know. Shout out to the Vandal Hour once again and the Karma Lounge.
Yeah.
The Art of Hip Hop event went down last Tuesday, the Tuesday that just passed. Shout out to Choice of New York City.
And shout out to
That
Jason.
girl from radio.
Shout out to Choice in New York, and shout out to Jason Bourne, the plugs. We had a dope event. We had like a lot of people there. I can't even keep if I told you the numbers, y'all probably won't fuck around and start scheming. But yeah, the numbers was crazy. Everybody came out. Shout out to my man Coin2 DRC, B10. Shout out to Met, DFA. Shout out to even Dover came through. Shout out to the homie Dover for pulling up. Dawes Walnuts, who sold a couple of his pieces,
My
2
nigga-
or 3 pieces.
My nigga Vito 180 was in the building.
Yeah.
The fat bitch magnet J-Lo.
J-Lo was in the building. And we
Word.
had, so many people came through and supported, man.
Shout out to Runt CHK too. He stays showing us mad love at all our events.
Yeah, I can't forget the young homie, the Virgo. I forgot his name, but my homie that I'm gonna be working with, getting his money with.
yes.
Shout out to the young homie. My man is 26 years old and he's on his business shit. Like I wasn't. So like we're gonna be doing a lot of things. We're gonna have a lot of loft parties coming up. So it's gonna be crazy, man. It's gonna be crazy.
Well, now if y'all familiar with the motherfucking show, this is where we go into regular news for the working people.
You know what it is? Real quick, y'all, I want to run through a couple things because we running, a little short on time. We got a special event going on
Yeah.
tonight.
And we want to make sure they get all their time.
Exactly.
That's a fact.
So listen, real quick, y'all. Shout out to all the football fans. Tomorrow's the big day. Super Bowl tomorrow. Atlanta Falcons versus the New England cheating ass Patriots.
And we-
will be playing
So
tomorrow.
I guess your money's on the Falcons.
And real quick, if for the Vandal Hour Guards, we will be at Swift Spot tomorrow.
Okay.
We will be doing
Okay.
a strip joint, Super Bowl joint with Swift. Oh, we not. This ain't a party. This is what we do on regular shit.
You already know what it is. Also for the sports fans, Carmelo Anthony, going through the trade rumors. Recently tried to get the trade go down with the Cavs. They declined for Kevin Love. So Carmelo Anthony has, I think, to February 23rd.
He's a bum.
which is the trade line.
Carmelo
And-
Anthony's a bum.
And he will be either in New York or somewhere else by the end of this month.
We don't want him. His vertical lift is 4 inches, man. That nigga, he couldn't even jump over an ant, man.
And now also real quick, Mathematics, I saw on Instagram also Arabs, man. Listen, they posted, they
No, we don't want to use that words.
The Muslim brothers.
The
Arab stores.
the Arabic stores and the Yemen.
The Yemen.
The Yemen
yes.
stores.
They
The
all
Yemen
closing.
stores.
My man Bilal reps Yemen hard.
Yeah, the Yemen stores in all the hoods, they took a strike this week.
And they protested, and we couldn't get no Lucy's and Dutches for like 6-8 hours.
Yeah, from 12 to 8, you couldn't get Lucy's and
Word.
Dutches or 40s from nowhere.
A few of those niggas was detained in JFK. Y'all niggas is fucking up the game,
But
Trump.
I tell you this though, like we didn't know if they was gonna be striking for a long time, so I had to call my Arabic connect, or my Yemen connect. I had to call them. I was like, yo, y'all open up the store today at 8? After 8, like they open already. I'm like, good looking, God.
Shout out all the Muslims worldwide.
So shout out to Fuma who gave me the info
Yeah.
that they open.
Shout out to Fuma. And yo, listen real quick on that.
Allahu Akbar, and I mean that in a good way.
Last but not least on that subject, as you know, Trump has the ban on the immigration.
Fuck 'em.
On Islamic, some Islamic countries that are coming in. And recently, this morning, Homeland Security reported that they will not be enforcing that bill that he passed as far as detaining people. So he got beef with his own people right now. It's like a civil war in Congress right now. But listen, y'all, it's the Vandal Hour live on DTFradio.com. Once again,
Tell a friend to tell a friend.
a big shout out to Sade, TCM. He's gonna be doing his thing right now. When writers put down the paint, they're gonna have their round table. Shout out to everybody tuning in live. A lot of history, a lot of hot topics,
We're
y'all.
gonna take a short music break with DJ Quest. And when we come back, y'all niggas gonna get a motherfucking history lesson. I state facts. Tell a friend.
DTFradio.com.
Hey, yo, y'all about to listen to history tonight. Hey, yo, Sway, do the things you like to do, my G.
Yo, what's up, people? Out there, all the Vandal Hour listeners. We want to welcome y'all to a special edition of the Vandal Hour. We got a bomb squad in the house tonight. Heavy hitters only. Everybody can't sit at this table. That's why I'm moderating it. You know what I'm saying? So, basically, off the top, I want to thank everybody, all the Vandal Hour listeners, all the new listeners that may be listening. I want to thank Mathematics, Facts on Wax, Sinatra for welcoming us into their house and letting us do this thing. So we're gonna just real quickly for the people out there, you know, everybody's not a writer, right? Some people may not understand some of the terms that we're gonna throw out there. So just to brief people and get them up to speed on some stuff, I'm just gonna run down a few terms real quick. Just give them a quick explanation, just so in case they hear these things, it don't sound strange to them as we're talking about it, right? So starting with a few things. So you're gonna hear us repeatedly say writer and writing, right? So for us, writer and writing, everybody knows it as a graffiti artist. It's just what we call it. We call it writing for us, because we're writers. Hand style. Hand style is basically your tag, it's your signature. We call it a hand style. Your style is your signature of the art that you do and the way that you express yourself. Everyone has sort of like a voice, the way they do things that are familiar to them. But some of the people that we have in the room today, as a matter of fact, everyone here actually are pretty much all-stars in the game. They all have a definitive signature that pretty much the whole world is watching. A throw-up. A throw-up is just a quickly rendered, piece. It's just, just could be 2 letters, could be a full name. It's done really quickly. It's not meant to have a whole lot of style. It's not about being, elaborate and complicated. It's about being quick and getting it done. It's usually just filling it in, put an outline in it, and run with it. A burner is an elaborate rendition of your name. So now that's when you elevate and you really, start rocking out and you really take it to the next level with a bunch of combinations, twists, colors, connections, and all kinds of things, just showing how complex and how creative you could be. Bombing. Bombing is just basically not blowing up trains and blowing up planes and all that good stuff. For us, bombing is just basically running out and just hitting everything in sight, whether we're talking about trains, walls, whatever. We're just bombing. We're out there getting up and getting our name everywhere. Top to bottom, end to end, and window down. So these are terms that when we reference, because in this room, we happen to have a lineup of prolific train riders. And so for us, when we refer to a top to bottom is from the bottom of a train to the top of a train. An end to end is from one end of the train to the other end of the train. A window down is a piece that sits from the bottom of the window to the bottom of the train on the side of the train.
I hope you're taking notes.
Toy. So toy is a term that, previously to toy, people used to say Hot 110, but then it became a matter of a toy. A toy could be a novice, but also you could be subject to toy behavior. So you could be an expert and act like a toy if you play yourself. Racking. Racking, we don't condone stealing. Just put that out there ahead of time, but racking was the art of stealing your supplies. Back in the days, traditionally, none of us paid for our supplies because we just didn't have the money or didn't want to pay for them, so we would steal them. So that's what racking is. Wild style. Wild style, a term mostly known to be coined by Tracy 168. So wild style is just basically just the most complex rendition of your name, just the way you render your letters. You just wild out. You just go crazy with it. When we refer to lines, we're talking about train lines, subway lines, lines around the city, whether it's the A, the B, the C, the IRTs, the INDs, the BMTs. And then all city was the act of being everywhere all at once. So if you were all city, for us that came from the train era, if you were all city in the trains, pretty much you were at the top of the food chain when it came to being a writer and a bomber. Doesn't mean that you was the baddest style master, it just meant that you was everywhere. That's what that was about. So now, I got that out the way. So I'm gonna run through a few introductions to everybody, to the audience out there. I want everyone to know who we have in the room, because the people that we have in the room, for me, I'm just telling everybody out there right now, for me sitting right here in front of these people, you know, even though many of my peers, for me, I'm still like a little kid. So this is like being at the bench. The bench back in the day was 149th Street Grand Concourse for me. There were many benches all around the city. And you would go there, and as a young rider, when I would go there, I would see the all-stars, right? So you go to see, and you see all these guys around, and you stand on the sidelines, and you're just like in awe. So I'm sitting here right now in front of these guys, and I'm in awe like a little kid back at the bench back in the day, on the real. So I'm gonna introduce the writers to everybody. So, and it's not in any order, it's not in any level of hierarchy or whatever. I just kind of have them listed the way that I have them listed. So I'm gonna start out with Seth. So Seth, starting in the 80s, Seth established his name as as a style master amongst the best in the world. He is one of the first writers to have a spray color in his name produced by a major paint manufacturer. Being true to keeping the New York City style alive and his incredible illustration skills, to his credit, he has been one of the most talked about, imitated, and followed writers in the world, leaving his mark from magazines to galleries to the internet, and now even social media, being followed by over 135,000 followers and growing by the day. Next online, we got Chino BYI. So Chino, as a young writer, made his name ubiquitous on the subways and walls of New York City. Today he is widely considered as one of the most foremost ambassadors of the writing culture worldwide. During his 11 years as editor of both The Bomb Shelter and Graphics graffiti features in the Source magazine, he cemented his position as an important voice within the graffiti community. He also co-authored the definitive tomes, Mascots and Mugs, and the best-selling Peace book series. His first-hand knowledge of the graffiti culture and all its past, present, and future players makes him an incredible authority. With numerous speaking engagements and shows underneath his belt, and more on the horizon, Chino continues to share his vital knowledge of the graffiti culture with the world. Next we have Dero TFA. So Dero is a prolific train era writer that always believed that the most important element of a writer's style should be his letter style. An elusive lone bomber, Dero carried the style torch along with his cohorts Wayne, Whips, and Poem to the very end of the train era and into the clean train era. As a member of Dez's crew, TFA, he established his dominance through his prodigious output, forever cementing himself as a legend amongst legends within the culture. Next up, we got Python. So Python is an alumni of New York City's Art and Design High School that attended with some of the greatest writers to ever paint trains in New York City. As a member of the Bad Ink crew, PY1, Pi1, as he was also known, partnered up with legendary writers such as Sonic, Ink 76, and other incredible, Ink 76 to add another incredible layer to New York City's train writing history. Beyond the trains, Python is a successful graphic designer and artist, having received acclaim as a designer for the United States Major League Baseball Association. Reed 2. So Reed is a member of the MTA crew from Tremont section of the Bronx, founded by him and Chino Malo. The MTA crew's peak activity was during 1978 and 79. With partners such as Kindo, Ruff, and Chain 3, Reed did many colorful top-to-bottom whole cars rivaling legends of the time such as Lee and Blade, cementing his legacy as a true vanguard, style master, and a legend in his own right of the New York City train writing culture. Next we got Bio Touch Crew. So Bio has been claimed by many to be one of the best stylists or letter masters throughout the graffiti movement worldwide. Bio is known for his numerous styles of lettering, complex compositions, wild styles, and his creative use of color. In the 1980s, along with Brim and Mac, Bio founded the Touch Crew, the Mural Kings, a world-famous art collective. Along with his incredibly talented partners, Nicer, BG183, How, and Nazem, the Touch Crew has grown to be commercially and artistically recognized all over the world as leaders of innovation, style, and design. Next, we have Trike. Trike was also known as Turk 1 and LP 136. He started writing in 1972. He was an original member of the infamous GND, Graffiti Never Dies crew. Also, as a member of the famous RTW, Rolling Thunder Riders, he partnered up with some of the best writers of the era, such as Zephyr, Quick, and Revo. A versatile artist who has been involved in the writing culture for over 4 decades. You'll hold that right there. Think about that for a while. 4 decades from the beginning. Trike needs no introduction regarding the work he put in on the New York City subway system. With over 40 years underneath his belt, Trike has a notable resume, collaborating and bombing with some of the most notable writing legends. Trike's evolution in his craft brings forth today a mixture of intricate and colorful juxtapositions of style and imagery. Today he exhibits his work in numerous renowned galleries throughout the world. Next we got T-Kid, the Terrible One. as he has been affectionately called. Started in the 1970s, tagging the name King 13 for two infamous street gangs, the Bronx Enchanters and the Renegades of Harlem, where he learned how to paint. T-Kid 170 became famous for his unique lettering style, illustration skills, and extremely prolific train bombing. T-Kid is the president of TMB, the Nasty Boys, and ex-president of TVS, the Vamp Squad, two notorious New York City graffiti train ever writing crews. T-Kid is still active, and his work can be seen everywhere around the world in galleries and museums and private collections. T-Kid considers himself a time traveler whose art tells a story of what was and what is, a story of chaos, turmoil, dissolution, survival, redemption, absolution, and of success, which is the story the world has come to know as T-Kid 170. So that's our lineup, ladies and gentlemen. Just have to get that out there. For this type of lineup, you need that kind of intro. People need to know, like, everybody here put in some serious work, and they deserve that recognition. So now I put a little something together. I want to go into a little conversation. I want to say a little something first before we jump into the topics. The reason why I put something together to kind of sort of, you know, proceed what we're going to get into is simply that I just want to get across to people the theme of why we're here and what we're talking about, and I just want people to understand sort of like what my thoughts are and what my motive is. This is not a regular conversation like you have. Like, if you want to know what T-Kid's favorite color is, yo, hit him on Instagram. if you want to know, you know, what line Strike hit him on IG. This is a different day. So anyway, so now we're 47 plus years into the existence of the writing culture that has spread the world over. It exists in just about every inhabited geographic location, pushed forward by many different attitudes, motivations, and histories. So as a result of evolution, the countless retelling of the histories from countless perspectives, it has evolved the history to be any number of versions depending on the source. So of course, history is important, and with that being said, the history at the onset of this culture should be as important, if not even more important, because in that history is the DNA of the writing culture. In order for all to understand the culture and to realize its evolution, whether in practice or conversation, we should strive to study that DNA. With the advent of modern study and discussions within the different contexts such as social media, books, documentaries, the evolution of the culture has gone from evolving in artistic innovation and techniques to evolving to what people perceive it to be and say it should be. So the idea of taking responsibility for the culture should not be foreign. We should all speak of, discuss, share, and preserve what we understand the DNA of the culture to be as much as its current evolution. Always recognize that, albeit very important, it is just a part of a larger history. We should encourage supporters and participators in the culture to be fact finders, to study and to share in the preservation and study all of the history from day one until today and beyond. To grow, we should embrace our responsibilities of keeping these conversations going that demonstrate that our subject matter is universal. We should embrace this idea because the writing culture's artistic ideas and creativity are long overdue to be elevated to the level of legitimacy and recognition, just as every other formally studied art form has been. So tonight, we're taking this idea of responsibility for the writing culture and putting our cans down and talk. All right? Y'all ready?
Yes, sir. Let's do it.
Let's get it on, baby. What? let's get some energy up in here. All right, so we're gonna start out easy. We're gonna start out slow. You know, we're gonna build up to some interesting stuff. So, being that Trife, you've been in the game the longest. Am I right? All right, so you guys, yeah. Before I even came to the United States, you were already bombing trains.
When you came where?
73.
73, yeah.
Yeah, you were already hitting trains. I didn't even hit the country yet. Damn. That's some shit. So I pose this question to you. It's great. Both of y'all. So what is graffiti? Is it a typographical art form based on creative construction of letters? Is it an art form based on the use of spray paint where anything goes?
I think it's the letter forms. Basically, we all went with different types of letters just to get our names across.
So graffiti, so you're saying that graffiti is about lettering?
Lettering, yes. Different types of lettering. No matter which hand styles you have, it all revolves about the lettering.
So then what about some of the stuff that people are doing today, where you have people that they're picking up spray cans and they're doing, you know, some drawing, whatever, and then it's graffiti and they write their name in a little corner and they call it graffiti. Is that graffiti?
It's still another form of graffiti.
Oh, so it's another form.
Yes.
So it's an evolution. So all right. So I mean, so then if you're gonna answer the question, then and I say what is graffiti? Then it's not based on the letter form.
It's based based on letter form. Everything came
First
out
and
in
foremost?
letters, yes.
Okay. So that's what people should understand. It's actually
Right.
based on letter forms more than anything. But there's been an evolution.
Yes.
And people have kind of sort of
Like the 3D letterings, that's totally different compared to the
Still
letters
lettering.
that we were doing in the 70s.
And it all starts with the letters of your name.
Yes.
You know, whatever the letters of your name, that's the foundation of your graph or your writing career.
Right.
You know, so let's just say Reed, R-E-E.
That's all I did.
He took those 3 letters and evolved it into a multitude of different styles. You can't keep doing the same thing. It kind of gets redundant and boring. So you gotta take that style, you gotta evolve it, and you gotta start from the very basic single heads to a little line around a few dots. Now you got the 3D attitude.
Right.
You just evolve into a whole different element, a whole different level. These, you know, everybody starts off with that single head, and it just evolves into what these guys can do today, which is incredible stuff. Incredible.
So I want to grab that. I want
If I could say something, you know, graffiti really is a perspective, man. You really gotta understand graffiti. You gotta really go way back. You know, graffiti. Yeah, we're talking about graffiti on trains. What they're saying is absolutely true, man. But let's look at graffiti when it started, man. When did it start? We don't know when it started. Graffiti's been around since the beginning of time. You gotta understand that what graffiti really is a message. You know, I ain't trying to get political and all deep into it, but the truth of the matter is, when we was out there writing, we was saying something. We was saying something.
Yeah, it was the message getting across, of course. But Dero was the name that was being put out there.
It was also, it's like self-branding. It's like any other letter out there. It's like self-branding. Whatever your name is, you know, the more you put out, it's like you're establishing yourself. You're solidifying yourself with a certain colors. And that becomes your brand. Your name becomes your brand. It's like Nike, Adidas, whatever. That's the brand, the logo. So the more, you know, the people see your name, you can identify with that guy. I see this guy. Some of the shit when the trains are running so fast, you needed to know the silhouette of a piece. You know what it was.
And the colors
So
that
you didn't have to
so-
sit there and read it, you know.
So I want to just like slow down and backtrack a little bit on something that was just said. So as a name, right? So graffiti, based on the art form or whatever. So is it writing
It's writing, man.
or is it urban art?
It's writing.
Right? Because if you're saying, whoa, wait. But if you're saying, and I'm just playing devil's advocate here. Because if you're saying that it's involved and it's these other things too, is it writing or is it urban art?
Well, you got style writing, which is, I think, what you guys are talking about too. Whereas if you stylizing your name and hooking it up in the tradition that graffiti started out in versus the next level of using contrast and colors and shapes to create your name, that to me is more art versus style writing. That's my opinion.
Okay. You want to deal with that, Dero?
I'm feeling the vibe.
He's warming up.
The music.
He's warming up. You gotta get ready.
I'm waiting for my cue.
Take a layup.
I'm gonna jump in.
All right, so I mean, I was gonna say, so what is it and what is it not? But it's kind of sort of, I'm getting it. So I'm understanding, right? It's based on a letter form, right? It's an art form based on letter forms, but there's been a slight evolution along the way.
He get it right though, like graffiti's, you know, writing or whatever.
Writing's been going on for the
generations. So
Yeah, I mean,
you know, the writing that we talk about is like, when did we start writing on trains? So that was a whole different medium. That was a whole different.
This is true.
Thing that we did, you know, introduced regular street writing, graffiti, whatever you want to call it, whatever the media calls it, or whatever we wrote on trains, and that became the medium that we wrote on.
Right.
By use of either aerosol or markers or whatever it was. It wasn't a canvas, but it was like a moving canvas, you know.
Right,
better
right,
sense of the
right,
word. So that's what we talk about graffiti. To us, that's what it means to me. Write on a train.
And that's
Not on a wall, not on a building, not on a truck.
But I like that
train.
point because that kind of sort of, now you just finished
Right.
and gave
That's
light to
why.
what Tika's talking about, because then we're just kind of a step in that evolution, right? And sort of like, you know, so there was before us, there was us, and there's afterwards. So now when we're talking about, and I asked the question about defining it, then it's more than
There's
one
been
thing.
markings on
Yeah.
certain things for thousands of years ago, man. We didn't start that obviously, but we did start the marking subway cars. You see what I'm saying? And as many as that we could to get our names across the city. And that's the point of graffiti for me. Anyway, that's when it really starts. Not 1,000 years ago, not the pyramids and all of that stuff. For me, graffiti starts when you wrote your name.
Hieroglyphics.
When you wrote your name on a train.
Yeah.
When you started writing on it, that's when graffiti started for you.
Right.
That's it, period. I mean, you wrote on your block, you wrote in your neighborhood, you wrote in your school
Yeah, most of us
bathroom.
started on the block, man.
Yes,
Yeah.
right,
Yeah.
exactly.
Absolutely.
That started in my hallway.
You know,
Right,
yeah.
exactly.
You were the king
But
of that
when
building.
you wrote on
I
the
was
train,
king
that's
of the
when you
bathroom
became
first.
when you became a writer. When you wrote on that training.
Right.
You're right.
That was the passage into the world of graffiti or writing. That's to me anyway. That's my
Yeah,
opinion.
I just kind of jumped into that simply because there's always this argument about, yo, you're not a writer, yo, you a writer, and then it's like the whole idea of defining it. And somebody like, what are you talking about?
You know, but
I'm
to
thinking-
identify graffiti and get that whole thing, the evolution of graffiti, like I said, look, it started way back then and evolved to what we know it as today. And if you really look at it, it hasn't really changed because you said it yourself, it's a brand. What are people doing today? They create a brand. You said that. That's right. Trey. Let's give credit to Trey. My man. That's right.
Shout outs.
Shout out.
Sound effects.
Shout out, brother. Yeah.
Big Trey. All right. So shifting the gear, I throw a little curveball in it. Does illegal graffiti still serve a critical path in the growth and preservation and evolution of the culture as a whole? So I go to this whole thing about keeping it real. I hear Chris 217 in the back clearing his throat.
Get that fur ball out.
It's my hero,
Get that
man.
fur ball out.
Yo, Chris, you my hero, brother.
You want to deal with that, Chino?
Can you repeat the question, please?
So
Take Chino for 200.
I'm still stuck on Chris.
I'll take Chris for 200.
yeah, right.
And 17.
I'll take Chris for 200.
So does illegal graffiti? Because people talk about keeping it real, right? Yo, you're not a real writer because you don't do illegal graffiti. You're doing all legal walls, and you see those arguments all the time online. So, does illegal graffiti still serve a critical part in the growth and preservation and evolution of the culture as a whole?
I think for the most part, that's the average writer's introduction to the culture, is to write illegal graffiti. Now, I will say that they're at a very different stage in their evolution as a human being as most of us are. So there are certain milestones that occur in your life, like a career, a wife, a family, children, that prevent you from putting in the same work 30 years later.
This is true.
Right? So we're in a different place. I mean, I know what it's like to be 15 years old and have zero responsibility and spend the entire summer in a train yard, going to Coney Island yard every night. Like, I had no responsibility with some 85. I lived with my mom, and I can't continue at that pace. I value my clean slate with the judicial system, right? I value opening my refrigerator at night, like living in my crib and not sharing a cell with somebody.
But can
But I think that it's a natural evolution. That's where it starts for so many people. And the people that are talking about keeping it, like, I can't fault them. I got a marker in my pocket. I got stickers. Like, this is 30-some years later. I still have the inclination to write on shit. So I understand the need and the desire and what that itch feels like. But that's where you're at. You're in a very different place. Like, if the average dude that's starting out is in his teens, like, just physiologically, right? Like, your frontal lobe, or what is it, frontal cortex that makes all of these important decisions hasn't fully developed yet. Like, I won't climb over a fence today, but I used to jump off elevated platforms, shimmy down poles. You can't get me to climb over a small fence at this stage in my life, right? So it depends on where you're at in your evolution, but I think that's the introduction to the culture for most people, is writing illegal graffiti. And the critique or the criticism of legal walls and all of this is because of where they're at in their lives. They can't envision painting a legal wall because they would rather hit a rooftop or something along the elevated L or catch a gate or the highway or whatever the case might be, whatever their campus of choice is. But I understand what, you know, I think it's a necessary evolution. That's where you start. How long you decide to linger in that space is on you.
So let me ask you a question. Do you think that culture actually can progress and survive and still, you know, retain its originality if people stop doing illegal graffiti?
I mean,
there'll always be somebody.
But look at how the culture's evolved, man. Like, everyone here got their start on trains for the most part, right? So here we are today talking about it, and look at, like, we've already we've already made the
millions of dollars at that. No, I'm sorry.
Hey, let's not do the James Top
But
thing,
we've all
right?
grown from that place already. You know what I mean? Like, we're not still hitting trains, and the culture's still here. Like, graffiti hasn't stopped.
I did last week though.
There you go.
There you go.
And it felt good, but I'll tell you, after it, it was like I went on like a fucking drug drinking binge. My whole body hurt for days.
Damn, kid.
And
You're getting old, man.
I kind of, sort of, yeah.
Oh, word.
Yeah. And then I find myself in that position going, yo, is this shit worth it? You know what I mean? Like, I got a lot of shit going on in my life, dude. Do I need this? My God, let me just see it through.
You know
I
something,
finished
man? I gotta give a shout out to my boys in Chicago, man. ST6, man. Them kids out there, you know. cool peoples, man. But you know what gets me about that question, man? You know, keeping it real and all that stuff. Because I hear a lot of, oh man, you got to do this, you got to do that to be a real writer. Man, I'm a real writer. I wrote back in the days. I did plenty of that stuff, man. You know, and like Chino pointed out, you know, life goes on. We move forward, we grow, and there's just some things we can't do no more. You know, it's called responsibility, man. You know, but at the same time, that guy that's talking about, yo, you know, you got to be a train rider, it's got to be illegal for it to be really graffiti, but yet this same character is buying paint. You know what I'm saying? Is buying paint.
This is true.
You know? I mean, come on, think about it. What did we do?
We certainly didn't buy it.
We didn't buy no paint. You know, and I could tell you a couple of old school writers that bought their paint.
My kids are listening.
I can tell you a couple of old writers that bought their paint. I've seen them do it, man. But you know, I'm not going to mention names and stuff because it ain't about that. Oh, dude, man, that was the move. Man. That was part of the whole thing, man.
But let's deal with that, right? Because okay, so now there's that whole keeping it real thing or whatever.
Right.
And so when we're going out to the masses, right? Because ultimately the goal is for people to recognize the culture as something that's significant, that the content is universal, that people want to be a part of this. We have that, I guess, bastard child that is illegal graffiti, right? Which that's where everyone starts, right? So, and when people address it, and you know, the quality of life crime, and politicians go on a tirade about it, and they go complete platforms. They build complete political platforms on the whole idea of illegal graffiti. Do you think that that's actually holding back the culture from that universal acceptance in terms of like the next level, when we become something of interest, like they talk about other art forms?
I don't think it has any bearing on it. I think that people, I mean, big diverse world out there. We can't put everyone in a small box. Everyone's got their own sensibilities. Everyone's at different places in their lives. Illegal graffiti is going to continue to go on regardless, right? And whether or not the artwork accepts what we do, that's just a whole other conversation, or it's a different space. I don't think what kids are doing on the walls illegally today has any bearing on whether or not any of these people in this room progress in their fine art careers. I don't think it has any bearing. You know, I just think that that's where people start out. I can relate to it entirely because I made my bones as a bomber and as a graffiti bomber, and I still like.
Well, I'll give you an example though, because I mean I don't necessarily agree with that, because well, I do in one way but don't in another. Because when I went to college as an adult. So the first time I went to college, I was 34 years old, and I had a bunch of art teachers, right? Because I'm going to take art classes, right? And that's just my natural inclination. And whenever I, you know, doing whatever art class that I was in, black and white is color or whatever, I always went to my default artistic expression, which is graffiti. And so I would do the graffiti, and I'd have these educated professors who would scoff at it, and they'd be like, "That's not art. You know, that's not really legitimate. Like that's graffiti."
That's also subjective, though, right? People are subjective and they're entitled to their opinions, but in my honest opinion, I don't see it any less art than. I mean, I'm not going to call anyone out.
What if one of us was your professor? What do you think? How do you think that we would take that?
Oh, you would have loved my shit.
I'm just saying. Say Dero was your professor. He would say I don't like it.
Nah, he would have been like, yo, you need to change that blue, and that arrow don't go there.
No, but like Chino said, it's all one person's opinion. I mean, you can't.
No, but I mean, I kind of came across that multiple times. It wasn't only one time. It was over. I went to a BFA in graphic design, so I went through all those years of college. So this graffiti thing kept coming up over and over, and that's how I started doing the digital graffiti. And I kept getting that same reaction from these professors, where I literally would wind up in debates with them.
See, now what I can say is, I remember there was a time where most of my friends that were a little older than me, that went to art and design at Parsons or RISD or SVA or whatever art institution they went to, their professors were real stringent, like, don't put graffiti in your portfolio. And to be quite honest, like, the vast majority of the work I get is because I have a portfolio of graffiti. So times have changed, things have evolved. Like, it might not have been well advised back in '82 to show up at a job interview with graffiti in your portfolio, but I'm sure, like, a lot of you cats could testify to this, that you've gotten work solely on the previous graffiti that you've created.
So it's a lot more accepted today than it was back then, because back then, you know, there was a lot of hype and the negativity of graffiti throughout the city because of all the money that it was causing, the cleanup. It was, you know, the urban decay or whatever it was, the broken windows theory and so forth, you know. So those were issues, societal issues that the governments of all over the place had to deal with. And it was putting a heavy strain on their budgets and stuff for cleaning and all this other stuff. But and that's a negative tone to it, you know. So now, obviously, everything and anything you look at now has some sort of a graffiti thing in it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So it's a lot more, you know, you're looking at anything, any advertisement.
And can I just touch on something that Trike said real quickly, is that the word graffiti itself is just so open-ended, right? Like, it's so vague. It's like the word transportation, right? It's such a vague term. Like, am I in a Cessna? Am I on a skateboard? Am I on the back of a mule? Or am I in a limo? Like, it's a very vague term. And graffiti, unfortunately, elicits all sort of negative connotation immediately, right? The guy that created that remarkable mural is a graffiti artist, right? But the guy that vandalized the church or the headstones in the cemetery is also a graffiti artist. It's a very vague term, but initially, at the root of it, it's going to elicit some sort of concern, right? Like, oh, it's graffiti, you know, until they see what you're doing. So it's a really confusing word to throw around because it is such a vague term. Yeah. It really, I think at its core, it elicits all sorts of concern, like, oh man, these dudes gonna write on shit.
I mean, was Keith Haring a graffiti artist? Every time they mention him, you know, graffiti
but
artist.
But it is such a, it's such a huge umbrella that like encompasses so many different actions at the end of the day. You know what I mean? The things we love are graffiti. The dude that wrote on the outside of my building wrote graffiti on the door, right? Like, it's the shit we hate too. So it really, that's part of the issue, I think, is that
that's the word that
when
draws
you
you in.
hear the word,
it draws you in.
Right.
It draws you right in.
So see, I got a pit bull. So when people, is that a pit? It's just all sorts of negative connotation immediately. You know what I mean? So it really is.
You're right.
I agree with you.
All right, so sorry about that. Shifting gears for a second. I'm gonna just throw something out there. So funny coming to this thing here. I got chastised by several people. Your main name is
probably him.
But I got people. I got a bunch of guys come at me, right? And so we get into this argument about really it's a argument about qualifications, right? Qualified to say so. So that's basically my question. Like, what makes one writer more qualified than another writer to say so? Is there such thing as artistically or historically qualified? Is it experience versus skill? Like, really, what is it that qualifies a writer and makes somebody like you could say so? You know what I mean? It's a little cerebral, but
it's a tough call because, and I don't mean to, you know, trying, but it's like some of the most marginal coaches on the planet were some of the most marginal basketball players were the greatest coaches, right? And some of the greatest basketball players suck as coaches. Larry Bird, for instance, right? So I don't necessarily think it's your skill level that necessarily defines your understanding of something. Right, and I think it's your understanding or your ability to comprehend something on a very comprehensive level that makes you qualified to do something, right? And I think that for some people it's really natural. For other people, they hit a ceiling at some point. I mean, we all know that dude that stopped evolving in 7th grade, and he's still that dude that was in 7th grade.
You could also make an analogy to baseball in that. Like, a lot of these guys here are all-stars on different levels. Hand styles, throw-ups, burners, artwork. Whereas you got some guys that have great dope hand styles or throw-ups, they can't piece it all.
This is true.
But this is an ecosystem, and it's important, right? There's a natural balance to this. And I'll be quite honest, man. Like,
I like that. You're an ecosystem.
It's all important. You know, the big fish are equally important as those microscopic things at the bottom of the ocean. Like it's a perfect balance that works in harmony with each other, right? Yeah. But I'll be honest, I would rather look at a gesture than some like European 3D high-level sophisticated like photoreal mural. I would rather look at a Misty Fielding SE3 throw up on a ding dong than some of these burners, right? And they're all equally beautiful, but I think that it all plays a role within the culture, right? It's like the suit that you're wearing, the tie, the cufflinks. It all matches, and you know, it all plays a role in at the culture, for the culture looking good and dressed up at the end of the day.
So it's a matter of preference.
Well, yeah, so. Like you know,
coexisting.
Like all art, right?
It's in the eye of the beholder. An art to each one of these facets of the culture, and I think they're all equally important.
And obviously, when you look at some of these guys that put up these elaborate murals, I would call them, and incredible use of can control, whatever. When they write their tag on the side, it's like, oh, how did you do this? How did you do this? You know,
the evolution is wrong. They learn to run before they can crawl.
Yes,
right. They never bomb.
I'm sorry, Trek. I'm trying to get my tag better.
Everybody ain't got a Broadway elegant hairstyle like you. Sorry, dog.
T-Kid is ill, man. T-Kid is that dude. Man. No, but it just you know, my mind. I'm like looking at him like, how? Like you got no fucking tag, but you just did this.
Hold up, time out. I don't have a tag.
I was gonna say that.
Sorry, Kenji. Please turn on your phone.
No, it ain't me, man. My shit's off.
All right. So let's move on to something else. Just one more cerebral one, and then we'll go somewhere else. So, preservation versus evolution. Now, if you're trying to preserve something, it's almost like you're not really trying to allow it to evolve, and you're trying to go somewhere else because you want to preserve it, right? You want to keep it right here.
You got to preserve it in certain stages. You can't preserve it all. You got to preserve it.
But you don't preserve a classic car in certain stages. You preserve that classic car.
Not necessarily. Not necessarily. As a car guy, no, because you can do an all-out, rotisserie type of rehab on the car, or you can do it in stages. You could do the engine one day, you could do the.
So you're saying that both can be important simultaneously?
Yes.
Is that what you're saying? Because it's like if you're trying to preserve, let's say, just for instance, let's just say you're trying to preserve the lettering style we was doing in 1983 on the 6-line vinyl. We was doing at that time, the simple styles that we were doing, and we're trying to preserve that. So we want to keep doing that. We can keep rocking that, keep showing that to everybody. That can exist simultaneously with evolution. If we keep it the same way, it's not going to evolve. Like they both exist. That's what you're saying.
Sometimes you don't want it to evolve, though, because you want to keep it at that innocent stage, man.
Yeah.
I mean, like a Jester tag that you see back then, or this writers from way back then that you remember their tags, and it was like God to you, and now you see it today. It's like, but I don't even want it.
I think that's what this whole culture was based on, though. Because remember, it started with a tag. That tag evolved to something else.
Right.
The bubble, throw up, whatever. That evolved to a piece. That piece turned into wild style. So that wild style has to become something. It's all going to be
morph.
Coming from that core tag, but it has to develop and change. Whether it be a wild style piece, fused with 3D, with some animal, it just has to change. That's this art form. It's a constant evolution.
And you get tired of doing the same thing. So, you put an arrow here, you do a little this here, a little dip here, a little 3D opposite or whatever. The next thing you know, you're at a whole different level of something else.
It's going to change.
You get tired of it.
Gotta mix it up.
So basically, it's both. You got to have both. You got to have preservation. Because I'm just thinking like, it's just like cars now. You take a 70.
It'll be like your style.
GTO. And then GTO, and then no, listen, and then you take a Mercedes Benz.
Damn, bro.
They're two different vehicles. They're just so far off the mark, and it's like we're never gonna go back to 1970s today, right? It's always gonna be this modern stuff, and it's like people are gonna forget that, and so that's kind of the crux of that question, because it's like, can we do both? Can we leave behind that thing that is also educational for people coming in, right? People starting out. Leave that behind, and now we're all doing this. We're doing the E63s because we're not doing 1970 Chevelle Super Sports no more. We're only doing these. What happens to that? That's no longer important.
It still exists. It exists. It's still there. It'll be the 70s styles. It'll be the styles from the 80s.
It's all documented. You can refer to it at any time.
Documenting and practicing are two different things. I mean, should people keep doing it?
No, but you could look back and still be inspired by it.
This is true.
I do.
People do throwback stuff, I guess.
Yeah, a lot of people make that retro 70s look now with a modern twist, new color.
I mean, have you seen some of the stuff today? Everybody wants to do what's happening in 70s. Everybody. You got kids starting off today that are trying to emulate 70s styles. Look around. I mean, it's incredible.
My experience with the art world, man, people appreciate that old stuff. They really do. They really like it, man. Because, like they say, man, less is more, man. Less is more, Listen, man, I hear you, man. A brand new BMW is awesome, man. You ever try to fix one? But you could fix that 1970 Chevelle with Band-Aids and paper clips, brother. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
And you keep going.
That's a good point. That's a good point. So,
DTFradio.com.
And this is kind of sort of like playing off of that last topic. Is there any merit to the idea of preserving a particular style that originated in the train's early days, or does it hinder evolution? Hold up, before anybody answers. For instance, and I got this from you, Trey. Does a Joe 182 tag hold as much weight as a piece done by the most advanced burner done today?
Absolutely. I think so.
Does it?
It's a matter of preference, man.
Absolutely.
Why
no question about it. Because without that tag, that piece would not exist.
That's right. We just touched on that evolution. Right?
Yeah, but
it had to start.
Okay.
It had to start there.
But I'm just saying though. Let's take it to another level. Like let's say someone who's an appreciator of what we do, right? And they're not necessarily educated as well as we are, and we say, you know, here's a Joe 182 tag, and then
it's not aesthetic to the eye. However, it's got so much power, man. It's got a lot of history and power behind it.
That's what people need to know.
It may not look good. It may not look good. You know what I'm saying?
But what is that power? What's the power?
Look at the Wright brothers playing, and look at what we flying today.
Right.
This is true. It was a I mean, at first glance, it's very rudimentary, but at the same time, it was critical to what we do today, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think in that same sense, like if you're a traditionalist or you've got a respect for the history or the evolution of the culture, it's equally as important.
No doubt, no doubt.
Like without one, obviously, there
Okay,
wouldn't
let's
have
put
been.
it this way. When you started writing, let's say, right?
Yesterday?
The trains were already touched on and bombed already, right?
Yes, they were.
So you had to go over somebody.
No, they were clean when I was painting. I had pieces of paper, white trains.
So let's just say somebody goes out there. There were pieces already on it, and they came to do their pieces.
Yeah.
What made them choose not to go over that person, but to go over this person?
Ooh. That could go multiple ways though.
Maybe because that person had light in the tunnel and the other one didn't. That was usually the case.
Right. Not everywhere you want them, but the bulb was broke.
Or it might have been an old T-kit piece. They knew he was floating around like,
that would have been respect.
That could be a problem later on.
Right. Okay.
We're gonna leave that alone.
Yeah, please come on.
And that's
moving forward.
And that's one of those fascinating things about the culture is that
always, man.
20 years before I met T-Kid,
leave it alone.
it was it's like Joseph Campbell's Power of Myth, right? Or like Paul Bunyan. With every retelling of the story, this man grows bigger and bigger and more grandiose. And as a kid growing up,
Exactly.
we didn't even have to bump into him to be scared of dude. And it's a power of myth, yo. Like these stories are handed down from one generation to the next and shared, and you know, there were dudes that ate poison for breakfast and caught bullets with their teeth and pressed parked cars.
Well, that was the mystique, right, Chino? That was the mystique of graft.
And Shrike was that other dude in Brooklyn,
You know?
yo. You can't get caught in Fort Hamilton. And I was like, we ain't going to Fort Hamilton. You know what I mean? And it just, but that was the beauty of graffiti, was that there was this like sort of urban folklore that existed within the culture. And you know, even Chris, man, like dudes that tell me Chris is 6'9" and like
Sasquatch.
Yeah, you know.
Listen, I'll throw a name out there. Right, back in the day, Vinny was probably one of the first, 5 dudes that I think in my book. Vinny was one of the legit all city dudes, right? Legit, one of the 5. Cliff, obviously, Vinny is in, and you could even throw Min in there. You know what I'm saying? Min was that dude. All right, so and I'm talking about all city, just floaters everywhere, that kind of stuff. You would think Vinny was the 6'7" dude that was. You ever see Vinny? He's up to my waist, bro. I'm just saying. You know, like, but that was the mystique of rap. Like, you know, like your mind starts playing all these like you see Vinny. This guy must be some crazy guy. You see Vinny's like 5'1", bro, 5'2", whatever the hell he is. Great dude. Don't get me wrong. All legitimate king in this game. One of the very few guys that could act. In all city, I mean, it's documented. It ain't no lie.
New York City. So let me ask you a question about New York City. So I was online the other day, and someone inboxed me, and they said, "Yo, New York City's dead," because I posted up those videos of the Hackensack thing or whatever. And I'm like, "That's a good question for us." It's like, "Yo, is New York City writing culture dead in terms of like our prominence, our significance, our relevance in the game?"
Hell no.
Well, I mean,
hell no.
Of course, you're gonna say no.
No, I'm gonna say that, and it ain't even got nothing to do with me, man. Let's take my man right here, Bio, man, in the Tat School and what they're doing. Yeah. All right, let's talk about the movement that's really going on, man. You know, a lot of new galleries are coming up.
Shit is unparalleled what these guys are doing.
Listen, I travel all over the world, man, and it's funny, man, because they look at us and they like the serious art collectors and people like that. They all think that we fight amongst each other, and they kind of like don't respect us because of that. All this like Chino was talking about the myth and this, that, and the other. Everything they hear, which isn't really true. Yeah. Which isn't really true. No, we're all here. I think we've gotten to the point where we've moved forward. By the way, man, Chino, thank you for cleaning that up about me earlier. And making me a myth, man. Yeah, okay, whatever.
You're human again, huh?
I'm human, man. I'm human.
But there's obviously a great degree of truth behind it. But
there was a lot
every passing story.
But we're gonna go back. Let's move forward. You know, that's yesteryears, man. Come on. You know, New York is the spot. Everywhere I go, they talk about we want to go to New York and paint. We want to go to New York and paint.
There's a reason for that.
And there's a reason for that. Exactly, man. There's a reason for that because that's where you find us.
Man.
Yeah, this is kind of dope. I'm watching you guys now.
you want to speak? Everybody's listening to you. Yo, we got. Yo, for the listeners out there, we just had Mayor.
I was just about to shout.
Brother,
just text me.
Kel.
Now a word from Tracy.
That's Mayor.
Kel's brother Mayor.
And now a word from Tracy.
What up, Mayor? On the line. What's up? We kind of working right now, dogs. You got something to say about what we just talking about?
Yeah, I mean, what I'm getting from the feed, you know, about the status of New York, where New York is in all of this, which I've often heard, and I completely agree with T-Kid on this. And this is one of the biggest problems, I think, in how we're viewed over here, because of course we don't have the kind of access people in Europe and other countries have to practice and paint and go all out. But I could say by people in that room who I know well, really have for years have held it up for New York and continue to hold it up. And it's kind of odd sometimes because even when I'm in, you know, some cat tells me that, I'm like, well, what are you're looking at me as if I can't. I don't paint on walls, but I'm a style writer. And for me, you know, what's great about New York, it's still very much at the forefront of it. And I got to give T-Kid big ups because he just, you know, he travels and he's a purist, you know, he does all these amazing pieces all over the world. And I think, you know, as an elder statesman, you know, that argument falls
to you. Elder statesman.
I am elder, that's for sure.
Statesman is another one.
Good looking, man.
Well, that's my thought, because I think we pushed the boundaries. We created this blueprint for everybody to follow, and still actually push the envelope. And so for me, even though you know I'm still a kind of contemporary artist, but when I still practice style writing, you know, I still think that New York flavor is still at the top of the food chain.
That's what we're talking about, man. You know, yo, dogs, really appreciate it, man. Thanks for calling in.
All right, brothers. Yo, enjoy. I'm listening.
All right, dogs. Peace.
Hey, but can I just touch on your question real quick? Was it at the surface, right? At a very surface inspection of New York City, it does appear that graffiti's dead. If you looked at what the rest of the world saw of New York early on in movies and documentaries and film, New York City was destroyed. Trains were covered with graffiti. It's like you have to know where it exists today, you know, but there are different unique challenges. Like we've hosted graffiti in a major city longer than any major city on the planet.
This is true.
Right? So there are different issues at play. There are a host of different variables that are responsible for New York looking as clean. We got in line first to fuck shit up. Pardon my French, bro. My apologies.
You can curse.
My apologies. But we got in line to really get it in, right? First, and I think in the evolution of things, we were probably first in line to get the real hard scrub eventually.
We did.
But we're also like the home of 9/11 right now. Yeah. So we're on next to London. We are the most surveilled city in the entire world. So things are very different today than they were when we were doing it. But I think like anywhere in the world, like if you didn't know anyone in LA or Chicago or London and you landed and you just went to Times Square and their version of the tour, you'd hate it there. And I think that's the thing, is that you need to know people and you need to know where things are going on to truly appreciate the flavor of that city or town. And I think that could be the same with graffiti and how it survives here in the city currently. Is that you're not going to see it on every block like you used to. The roll-down gates aren't always bombed. The highways aren't bombed and the trains are clean. So you really have to at least have an informed understanding of your landscape to really appreciate wherever you are in the world. And I think that applies to graffiti as well.
That's a great point explanation.
So Chino, can I ask a question? So basically what you're saying is graffiti in New York basically went back underground.
Yes, to some degree, yes. And kids are still climbing on roofs, but
trains are still being done. We know
look
that.
at development, like gentrification has changed the landscape of the city, unlike other cities. You know what I mean? There are tons of places where graffiti was allowed to survive, and you know, it's just like a small hat trick, and this is a completely different issue. But they allow street art to survive in a community while it's under development, right? It's sort of like this, like, come to this, what was traditionally deemed as a non-safe community. Maybe it's Wynwood, maybe it's Detroit, maybe it's Skid Row in Los Angeles, maybe it's Bushwick. But it's allowed to flourish in those communities while they're putting up big condominiums. And what that's doing is, people that have never been to Bushwick go out there and they're taking selfies in front of the street art and all of that stuff. And they get familiar with communities that they weren't welcomed in 20, 30 years ago, right? But all of these beautiful buildings are going up, and when it's time to look for a new place to live, people are moving into Bushwick, and East New York is next on the menu, and Wynwood, bro. I was in Wynwood in the 80s and the 90s. Does not look like it looks today.
Yeah, you wouldn't even go in
but
there.
street art is allowed to flourish, and it's sort of like this weird, like, yo, check out this pretty art while we're in the background putting up a condo in the Victor. You know what I mean? The people have spent the last 30 years here.
And also, the art is not a threat.
But gentrification is a huge issue with graffiti. It
Yeah.
can't really survive once people are paying $2 or $3 million for a studio apartment.
Also, the art that you see, the murals on buildings and all, it's a draw, and it doesn't pose a threat to the people that, you know, that go to that area to buy a house or whatever. Who's that? Who's that, Trump?
Yo, say what's up.
What up?
Who it is?
139.
This is Kel 139 on the phone, ladies and gentlemen.
Yep.
You want to touch on that? You gotta turn your computer down.
They thought he was falling asleep. Come on, guys.
Yo. If you're not gonna talk, gotta go.
What's up?
Did he ask on you?
Seattle, I think.
Seattle, yeah.
Yeah.
Here we go.
There you go. You there now?
Listening to your show. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Do you want to touch on that point that was being spoken about?
Yeah, I mean, I think graffiti has evolved a lot, and I think New York has lost its grit, for sure.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
I think I'm on two things right now.
You gotta get off of one.
Pick one.
Pick one, dog. Yo, Kel. Yo, I gotta keep it moving, dog.
DTFradio.com.
Alright. Anyway, yo, let's shift gears. So now, when writers come out of retirement, I love this here. This is, you know.
Thank you.
I'm that guy. I know, Chris, you might not like this right now. Alright, so when writers come out of retirement and do graffiti again, is it because of necessity? Does it put a blemish on their legacy when they can't keep up with the evolution? Is there a right way or a wrong approach? Or are they untouchable and beyond reproach in terms of skill and style simply because they're old school?
They may think they are.
Give him a mic.
Anybody want to touch on that? You want to lead that one alone?
I don't think it's because of necessity. I think it's like
I do it because I enjoy doing
right,
it.
exactly. You know, a lot of these guys, you know, they do it because they loved it as you know, in their youth, and you know, it was like a void in their life maybe for the last 20, 30, 40 years that they weren't involved in it.
Right.
And you know what? If that's the only thing that brought them happiness at a really good time in their life or whatnot, and reality hit, family, this and that, maybe some guys did a bid or whatever it is, you know, I just think it's something that they can actually hold on to and enjoy. That little bit of enjoyment that they have in their life, they could have a dismal life, a home style, or whatever it is. That 1 or 2 hours hanging out with people to reminisce to a time that, you know, where graffiti in its innocence and everything, you know, it brings them back to a time where everything was simple in their life, you know what I'm saying? There was no stress or whatever. It brings them back.
But that sounds like a good approach.
No, but I'm going to get to another point. But you can come back on the scene as an asshole.
There you go.
Okay, you can come back on the
That's
scene
what
as
you
an
wanted?
asshole.
That's what I wanted.
And what'll happen then is everybody will turn their back on you, and then you just become an outcast. And then all you're gonna do is just, you know, over and over the same redundant bullshit stories, and then, you know, that gets old after.
And then you got an asshole clique that they'll all run with.
Right,
Yeah.
and then that's it. You know, so yes, you can come back and you could be well accepted based on your history in the game, based on what you did back when you were, you know, in your teen years. On your name alone, you come back on this way, but you got to be a humble guy.
But you're not untouchable.
You got to be a humble guy, man, and that's the way it is, because we're all grown up now. We're not little kids no more. So, you know, a lot of us have experienced a lot of shit in our lives, this and that. We can read people a lot better now than we can back in the day. So when you come back with that rah-rah shit, and all of us are already in our 2nd and 3rd years and doing other things in life, you know, we can just read the bullshit and it's quicker for us today at this age to cut you out from the mix, you know, as it was back then. Because back then it's all about peer pressure, this and that. You want to get down with the hottest writer, whatever it may be. But today,
nobody cares.
Nobody really cares if you were king or you were all city or whatever. If you're an asshole, you're just an asshole.
But you can't tell them that, and they think that you're supposed to herald them and you're supposed to hold them up and be like, yo, you know, I'm king so and so or whatever. I'm like, yeah.
I don't think it means anything.
Yeah, man. You know what? When I saw that question,
Put on a pedestal.
when I saw that question, the only thing I thought about was my man LL Cool J. Don't call it a comeback. I've been here for years.
DTFradio.com. will always welcome you back, apparently.
Hey, just come back humble, man. Stop talking all that yang, man. Who cares? Nobody wants to hear that shit, man.
So then that would be the approach. Nobody wants to hear that.
Nobody wants to hear that.
See,
man.
at this stage,
you know,
stage, you could have been king, but when you come back into the scene or whatever, it just becomes just like dudes when they go fishing on weekends. It becomes like you know, a hobby, man. It's not, you know, when nobody's racing against each other. We're not bombing. We're not doing any of that.
It's like going on a fishing trip.
That's all it is. It becomes like therapy.
Yeah, we find ourselves like in the most strangest places, right, Ken?
Their approach, right?
A lot of it is therapeutic, man, for a lot of us.
Yeah,
you know?
it is for
me.
It is for me.
You know, it really is. A lot of it.
Dero, how therapeutic it is for him.
You know, I agree with you guys. I agree with you guys 100%. You know, I feel like it's the way somebody carries themselves, which is the most important thing. I mean, you know, if you're running around there acting like you that dude, yeah, you know,
I'll tell you what,
know, you're gonna get it.
When Dero started painting again, he didn't come back on like, yeah, I did all these trains. He actually came back with the mentality of, oh, what is this cat? What's this paint?
Yeah, man.
He wanted to learn it. He didn't come back like, I know everything. He was like, I need to learn this again. I need to invent myself.
Yeah. I'd be the first one to tell you, I was lost. How many colors of paint did we have when we were rocking back at the time? 20, 30?
If at all that, man. I mean, we were limited, man. Even to the caps.
It came back to 256. I was overwhelmed. I'd be the first one to tell you. I was like, whoa.
I'm still overwhelmed, man.
When I came back, I sprayed in '94 and it didn't drip for like 30 seconds and she started laughing. I was like, what? It was crazy.
You know, it's amazing, man, the evolution, man, of paint, if you really think about it, and how it became a big business, man.
I mean, how many manufacturers of paint are there?
Jesus Christ, and how many are involved?
How many writers get their name on a can?
I can't.
Not me.
So I'll say this.
Not yet.
Paint company between 2001 and 2005. So
Socks coming out. Tell them about your socks.
And Sess was one of the socks that we had.
He's got socks, he's got underwear. You're going to see Sess on that big billboard in 42nd Street.
NASCAR writer.
He's going to be right next to the naked cowboy guy.
Sess Klein.
Oh, Dave was making a point. Don't interrupt him.
Sess Klein. Times Square.
Wild stop.
Yo.
When I worked at a paint company between 2001 and 2005, and Sess, we had a Coke, PJ, Scene, and a host of other guys who had sponsored cans. Those guys. But what I will say, man, is that we were the first company to have quote-unquote graffiti products on retail shelves in New York City, and we did National Arts and Materials trade shows. And by no stretch am I suggesting that this would not have occurred. I think it would have been a natural evolution. But we fought to get paint on the shelves at Pearl Paint and Blick and Utrecht and Michaels and Joann's and all of these other Hobby Lobby. And now you walk into one of those stores and a quarter of the store is devoted to graffiti products. Like when we started working at Belton.
Oh, they love us. They want our money. They just don't want us to hit the city.
Yo, check this out, man. Do you know which? Excuse me. I'm sorry, Chino. I didn't mean to interrupt, but this I have to say this, man. This is important, man. You know, the first can different manufacturer other than Krylon Restoring that I saw with this spray paint that came from this place called The Spot. Remember when you guys put the label?
I forgot about that.
Forgot that one. The spot, brim. Yo, man, I'm telling you, man. Before Molotov, before Sparva, before Marabou Bonlac, you had the spot, brim.
Paint spot.
The Martin's paint.
Oh man!
How about that for some history, man?
Rim was advanced. He was advanced back then.
Gotta give it to that guy, man.
Another question. So, what's the idea behind the term toy? So, has the definition of toy changed, right? Because since everything has evolved, has that word changed, right, in today's writing culture? And has that changed the growth and evolution as a result? So, what we called a toy back then, is that what we call a toy now? Is it even relevant? Does the word even have a place in today's context? I mean, does it even matter?
In our vocabulary, it's relevant.
Yeah, it's relevant.
In my
man.
vocabulary.
Today is mostly for me, man. It's mostly how you act, man.
Yeah, toy behavior.
Yeah, your behavior.
It's not your skill set anymore. It's definitely
back
the way you carry
back
yourself.
in the day, even that evolved, you know, because back in the days it was about, you know, if you was whack, you was whack, you was called a toy. If you was new, you was a toy. I was a toy when I started. You know, we were all toys, man. You know, we didn't know what the hell we were doing.
I think at this point, if you could be the greatest painter in the world, but if you're an asshole, nobody's gonna want to deal with you.
You're a toy.
Pretty much.
That's pretty. Yeah.
You're a toy in life, man. You may be you may be great in skills, but you're a toy in life.
And you lose.
Yeah.
You lose. 100%. So, is the struggle for fame the same as a crab in a barrel mentality, and is that hurting and stunting the interest for the proper documentation of the history as we see it today? Right, so this whole so fame is the other thing, right? So that evolved. Back in the day, it's like fame was like, you know, you were up. You know, people saw you. People saw you on trains. They saw you on walls. They saw you wherever, and you were fighting for fame. That's what it was all about. So now, as we all progress and we all evolve, now the levels and the places where fame exists is different, right? But there's still that chase for fame, right? So I mean, it's like in that chase for fame, there's a lot of competition. Right, but now it's grown men competing. So
but it's all self-marketing. Say that's what it is, man. It's all just self-marketing. It's about marketing your name, your brand. You know, it's not about, you know, and the fame comes with it. The more people that know about it, you know what I'm saying. So the more people that know your name, T-Kid, Cess, Chino, all these guys, the more people that know that the fame grows with it. So it's naturally with it.
But so I'll throw something out there.
Nobody is gonna put you out. You. Listen,
it's shameless self-promotion.
You're your own CEO. Listen, you're your own CEO. You are your own boss. You're your own company. You know, it's all about self-promotion. You see what I'm saying? When Bio does his thing out there, and it just grows because they see the the dope shit that he does, and the shit is unparalleled. You know what these guys do with the Tats crew is it's amazing, and that's self-promotion. It's promoting the crew. It's promoting the individuals.
I've always believed in the power of numbers, right? So collectively as a whole, we're like one of the largest, if not the largest art collective in the whole entire world. Correct. Bottom line, right? But, as you said, everyone's their own CEO, everybody's their own promoter, and everybody does this. And they hold it, I mean, rightfully so, right? Because you're not gonna pay my bills, I gotta pay my bills. But people tend to do this, and I think that sometimes there may be, do you think there's maybe a missed opportunity there for us collectively as a whole where because we at this stage, especially with us, we're at those levels of age and career where we have all these extra skill sets besides the fact that we're funky with paint. I mean, some of us are managers, some of us are directors, some people are VPs.
Some are unemployed.
Yeah, some are unemployed.
Some of us want it all.
Yo, but check it out, man. You know, that goes with human nature, brother. You know, we all suffer from the human condition. We're all human and we all do our own thing, man. That's just like self-preservation, my brother.
Oh,
100% right.
We all have our own circles too. People, we get jobs. We need people to get in.
Yeah,
we trust them.
And we share, yeah.
But is there right? We share. But I mean, it's like, is there really any value to our collective power as a group? I mean, is that even possible, or are we just stuck in this? Still in that? Remember, because in the beginning it was all competition, right?
It's the same in everything in music. You know, you have
in any
musicians
industry
that work together. It's any industry you're gonna have that groups that stick together, people that are individuals. It's not unique to the graffiti culture. You know, I think that everything in life is that way. You know,
think we could actually build our own
what Tika said is a human condition. What you said?
Do you think we could build our own economic system just by the collective force of so many people?
I mean, if we get a lot more educated, and then you know.
But I will say, man, you motioned that
speaking of educating
things and keeping them close to ourselves.
Well, I'm not necessarily saying that people are doing that. It's just like a mild observation and conversation with a couple of people where, you know, it's like you have your sets. right? And these people all ride these separate lanes, and it's like sometimes, when we were talking about, sometimes you almost can see a missed opportunity where you can actually put some of these groups together and become a much stronger collective artistic force, which can then generate a whole lot more money. I mean, at the end of the day, right? Because we're adults now and we're kind of sort of about the money, but.
And comes human nature, greed, jealousy.
Yeah.
I mean, as a fan of the culture, man, I have a very different role in hoarding, and like I'm a fan at the end of the day. You know what I mean? I'm 6'5", I'm in my 40s somewhere, and I'm still that 12-year-old kid that loves graffiti at the heart of it, right? I still love the culture, so I have no problem outsourcing work, and I hire people, and I suggest people, and I recommend, and I try and shine the light on things I find beautiful. And I couldn't really hoard or hate if I was doing that. I'm really like, if you got a book out, you got a show, I'm the first one to be like, maybe we can blog that, maybe we can promote that, I'm gonna include you in a show or a project or a commission or whatever it is I'm working on, a book or whatever the hell it is.
Yo, Chino, some people that love machine films might want to talk to you.
Let's wrap.
Yo, so I have another question. Do people that exploit the culture exist? I changed the word for you, Dero. Dero doesn't like the term culture vulture.
Really?
Do they exist?
Exterminate that vulture.
I figured I'd mess
how
with
you feel.
So anyway, do people that exploit the culture exist, and what effects have they been responsible for when it pertains to the history, evolution, and commercial gain by artists?
Right? You know,
and that goes kind of to the hoarding thing, right? Because some people have that in, and they found that one thing that generates all this for them, and they kind of they just ride that lane. And they've used a lot of people along the way that it's their product that has given them that recognition and what they have, but they kind of hey, listen, it's business, and sorry.
See, I'm not cut from that cloth. Like, it's a win-win for whoever I'm rocking with. You know what I mean? Like, I'm reliant on somebody for content, but in exchange, like, they're a part of this really current project that keeps them either documented or in popular print, or maybe put some money in their pocket. But I'm not of that thought where, like, I've done print, popular print for almost 25 years now, and I've got a good working relationship with 99% of the dudes that have ever done anything for me. I got a firm handshake and a smile when I see most of the dudes that
Who's the 1%?
We probably know who he is, and he'll remain nameless. He's not only mad at me, he's angry with every other facet of the world he lives in. So I can't afford to take the
lives in his own world.
Criticism personal.
Has anybody ever tried to play you like that?
Me?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've dealt with all kinds of things, and I've been jaded to take risks and do things, and I just kind of stand back. I've been told great stories, and let me get this, and down the road I'm gonna do this for you. I think everyone here has been promised the world at some point.
I think that's the business world in general. That's just
even a bot graph. That's just business.
That's just business. It's nobody's business to tell you your business. If you don't know what you're doing, people will take advantage of you, and not because sometimes. There are genuine people who are conniving and schemers, but in terms of business, when it comes to business, if somebody can pay you $10 for something that you could have got $10,000 for, and you didn't ask for it, they're not going to offer it. They're not going to say, "Here, hey."
You got to know your worth and know what you did or what you're capable of, and really, is it worth it for you to do it? And there are plenty of times where you're offered something, but it just doesn't balance out. So maybe you could go and do something else that's better, or maybe you can lend a hand to that situation or point them in a direction to who would be better for that situation.
To your point, says, I got an offer, I'll throw the company's name out there, Pinterest, right? It's that $200 million infusion to their New York City offices.
They did.
And they're supposedly qualified to be a $3 billion corporation. They want to give me $500 to do it. 75-foot long conference room. And I said, no, $500.
That's easy math. You're lucky in that one.
I don't get it.
$50 a foot.
Yeah. Back in Newport.
So basically, the
exposure
is pretty much
exposure.
It just comes down to
Thank
business.
you.
Did they at least offer you some shares?
Know your value.
You see, that's a different story. If they said shares, being as we're older, we know what, hell yeah. You saw what the show made from Facebook? Yeah, who is this guy?
DTFradio.com.
That's what they said. He made it, how much? $50 million?
I think what they reported isn't really a fraction of what he actually got.
Really?
Okay. Yo, so check this out.
God bless you.
Oh shit.
Casper.
Hello.
What the fuck is that?
It's a gay ghost.
Tracy's here.
RIS crew.
Shout out to Tracy.
By the way,
I can right now. You need
What's cousin Frank doing there?
oh shit.
Yo, all right. Here's a loaded one. Some people gonna get mad. It's okay.
I'm already pissed, bro.
I'm gonna qualify it first. Let me just throw this out. Star Wars is without a doubt the most important film ever done about the train culture in New York City. At least seminal films that were done. But the time period and limited exposure of Star Wars, did that hurt the culture in terms of delivery and acceptance of historical information? Like, are the authors of graffiti books rewriting history one book at a time? Or is this just a byproduct of limited exposure? That's a heavy one right there.
Did it hurt the culture?
Did it hurt the culture? So, for instance, when you look at Star Wars, it's really talking about the IRTs. It's really talking,
I don't think it hurt it. I think it just took a small section of what was happening. It wasn't meant to be tell all. This is the what happened during that time, because there's so many people who were prolific at that time who weren't in Star Wars. So I think it was impossible for Henry to capture the entire movement. I don't think anyone in this room could really say and capture what was happening in the 80s. You're only going to say from your perspective what you saw. I see things differently than Trike may see it. Chino saw stuff in Brooklyn that we didn't see, and he may be like, this guy was the man, and we're like, who? So it's all from your point of view and your own point.
But the one thing that particular documentary did do was make the graffiti movement and breakdancing.
It accelerated it, man. The movement.
It made it into a worldwide culture, man.
Once that dropped, it accelerated the movement tenfold.
That was it, man.
There was dudes in little remote villages in Europe were starting to bomb because of that thing. That was the only real concrete thing they had, other than a couple of cheesy movies. Chino, you would know, like, it was before or after.
There wasn't anything. The culture, nothing, right? The culture was starved for some form of documentation. Right. And I'm gonna compare graffiti to skateboarding, right? Is that a lot of people are going to do it when they're growing up. A handful of people will actually get good. They're going to only be an even smaller handful of people will be actually recognized for what they do with graffiti and skateboarding, right? But very similarly, there are all these like bullshit skateboard videos that look like on a shaky cam that you want to throw up when you're watching it. But those things have been copied 1,000 times over because the culture was starved for some sort of entertainment. You know what I mean? So we embraced films like Beat Street and shit that we really didn't like because we were starved. Do you remember like when we were kids, VH1 would put, WHT would put porno on like 68? And you're looking at the blurry TV to try and catch a nipple. Like we were starved. We were starved for something to entertain us within that interest. But you know what?
Riders like nipples.
But people are really critical of Star Wars, right? And it's easy to be critical of somebody else's effort. But like that's a slither of history right there. Like no one, like Bayo said, this wasn't designed to be the comprehensive history of graffiti culture.
But the byproduct of that,
but the only thing
became that on many levels because
to some people, but that's not what the original intent was designed for.
The only thing that we had as far as even remote graph and anything before that was either Warriors or before that was Welcome Back Kotter. That 5-second snippet of Peanut, them guys, and that's all you had. Other than that, you had a tag here in the old movie or whatever. But I'm talking about an all-out like. Oh shit! You start looking at all the tags on on all the BMTs that which Warriors was basically all BMTs. You know what I'm saying? So you start checking all this shit out. But before that, like I said, the only thing was
movie clip.
That little Welcome Back Kotter, that 5-second clip with Bot, Power, and Peanut. That was it. That's all you had.
So like it or not, that's our generation's Rocky Horror Picture Show.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You can play that in a country where people don't speak English and verbatim they're reciting the lyrics. Yep. I mean, I could do the same. I'm sure most of us can during certain scenes.
Let's never forgive action.
So the fact that hashtag NFA, I've integrated that in my real world conversation routinely. NFA. I'm like, yo, my dude, never forgive action, bro. But I'm just saying, yo.
You know when the first time that was said?
Without that slither of history on film, are you like comfortable knowing? Just let's pretend it didn't exist. Are you cool with that?
Chino,
I welcome it, yo.
Chino,
I was a kid. I was a fan.
I don't know.
Chino,
even though I don't
how many times did you watch it?
I've watched as many times as Star Wars.
But check it out.
You the first time. On the elevator.
Listen.
That's incredible footage.
The first time that was said was in the Ghost Yard.
Did you?
When we went in there, TVS, Men, Ren, Shock, and somebody went over some of our stuff. And the first thing, and I don't know if it was Ren or if it was Shock. I think it was Ren who said, yo, that's never forgive action. And we ran with that shit, you know? And when it was said in that Star Wars, it was awesome, man. Men took it, say, yo, you know what? And what? Hashtag what?
NFA, yo.
How many sound bites came out of Star Wars? I mean, everybody around the world can quote.
And I'm the king up?
Yes.
That's the
Rest
man.
in peace to Case.
Yeah, but like Chino said, the people know that shit from beginning
You
to
can
end.
play that in a
word for
country where
word.
they don't speak English fluently, and they'll be able to
They can
recite the
say,
lyrics
yeah,
of the
yeah,
film.
yeah.
So I think it's just a testament to its popularity internationally, and the fact that it's inspired countless generations. Like, I think that's the goal, right? Is if you produce a product that resonates with generations of people the way that film has, I don't know if I could really touch that. Like, I'm, as a professional that's worked on projects, I'm not critical of, like, it's easy to find what someone did wrong, but let's get what they've done right, and try and recognize that first.
But check this out. So it, like I said at the beginning, it's one of the most important seminal documentaries ever made. So I wasn't criticizing. I was just asking about this phenomenon, which is really a byproduct of it, right? So it's like everyone comes and they capture this picture, right? There's a huge wall, and this guy takes a picture of this wall, and this guy takes a picture of that wall. This guy, they never all come together. This guy shows that picture to those people. This other guy shows his picture to these people. These people never get together. Each one saw the same wall. They're talking about the same wall, and they're not talking about the same thing. So that's like the byproduct, that phenomenon of like the history has been altered and changed and made to be something that maybe it isn't. It is as a byproduct. So that's just a phenomenon because you always get that. I've heard that a million times in arguments with people, where they're like, oh, yo, I was supposed to be in Star Wars. I wasn't in Star Wars. Yo, at the time, this one was king and that one wasn't king, and it wasn't right, it wasn't wrong. I'm like, yeah, but they were telling a story. I agree with that. It wasn't just a pure documentary. It was a story that was being told. There was a protagonist and antagonist.
It was a docudrama.
I could see also part of the point that you're bringing up, which is, a lot of people didn't get recognized. Bio touched on it, man, because it was too short of a film. But it's true, because I've done a lot of traveling, and, everybody thinks that these were the writers, these were the people, the only ones, and that's not true. That's not true. It's absolutely not true.
Wasn't Mitch the king of the Force at that time?
Mitch was one of the kings of the Force, man. I mean,
but then he had one that went on a run with Silvers at that time.
With the Tui in the mid '77s, right, he was killing it. He was killing it.
And Blade had the 5 and 2s on lock at that time.
Man, Blade was killing it. Blade's been killing it forever, man. But let's not even forget about Fuzz, because Fuzz was going all city at that time too, man.
This is true.
Yeah,
he was on a run.
You think about it, man. It's just too many people, and you didn't see them on there.
Yeah, it was. It was just a thing.
Everybody thinks that this was like this is Mr. America writer. Everybody. Certain people got singled out and they made careers on this shit.
Yeah.
And God bless them, they made a career, and that's awesome, man. But let's not forget that they weren't the only ones, and somebody mentioned they weren't the only prolific writers. There was many prolific writers,
Definitely.
But once again, you had to be at the right place at the right time.
Yeah.
And Chica was a myth, so he wasn't.
Yeah, I was a myth. I wasn't there. Nobody could find me. Nobody could find me. I was still underground, man.
You were morphing somewhere. That's all.
Whoa.
Graffiti just showed up places.
Just showed
the
up.
house.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you one thing though. That docu-drama, whatever you want to call it, or whatever. Whatever you want to call it.
That was reality TV. Reality TV.
Say that shit accelerated rap, and rap just exploded.
But how do you know that cats weren't asked to be in it and fucked it up? Because I've heard stories too.
Really?
Yeah. That
Like,
dudes wanted a stereo system, otherwise they weren't going to be in it. Shit like that. No, I really.
I mean, if
Henry did ask me to narrate that.
Initially,
it was supposed to be a hip hop.
It was supposed to be a breakdance film, and he was working with Rocksteady. I think they were on a tour at some point.
Right.
They needed to get grants to finish the
film. Circumstantial shit that didn't happen and work out.
Talking to Quick about it, and I spoke to him at length about it, because my boy or whatnot. And yeah, it was supposed to be more of a hip hop, the breakdance and stuff, and they just ran out of things to do, and they filled the other half of that video with the graffiti part of it.
Yeah, I'm surprised you don't have a question on the correlation between graffiti and hip hop, man.
There is none. No, there isn't. At the end,
I didn't want to open up that can of worms, because it depends on who you're talking to in the day of the week.
So true.
Like Blade always says, hey, I wasn't listening to hip hop.
So many writers weren't though.
Yeah, a lot of writers weren't. I listened to rock.
I mean, the first hip hop
But I
song
was-
was probably what, King Tim the Third, Fatback or whatever. That was like later on, and nobody listened to hip hop.
But it's like-
everybody
See,
listened to rock. When I was growing up.
I grew up with hip hop. I was listening to rock and roll, but then again, I lived on Boynton Avenue, and I would hang out in Bronx River and see all that stuff when it started beginning. You know, so yeah, I saw the whole connection. You know, and not for nothing. Also, man, you know, the confusion about it. Where did this really start? This whole thing, man. You know, and for me, I was down with the gangs, and that really came from the gangs, man. You know, those outdoor parties and all that stuff. It was the gangs throwing that stuff, man. One in particular, man, the Ghetto Brothers, man. You know, you could go look at that film, man. What's it called? Rebel Kings.
Have a
band.
Rebel
There's a
Kings.
bunch of them.
Right?
Rebel
They
Kings.
have a band.
They were in,
And that was pretty accurate.
Tiffany's, Flying Cutoff.
Flying Colors, that's-
which all complement each other. It's like all footage from similar sources. And
You know.
He said the hooky party.
Hooky, I didn't go to school. What are you talking about?
Yeah, check this out. So I'm gonna jump a couple. It's already one. So is an accomplished writer the same as a Degas, a Gauguin, a Monet, Picasso, a Blake? I hope y'all know who every one of those guys is. And should they be regarded and studied in the same way? And why? Of course.
Of course.
Why?
Everybody has, you know, everybody brings something to the table. Everybody brings something to the table. Everybody is unique in what they do. You know, as a graffiti artist, Trike, and everybody here, man, you know, they all came from different directions, doing the same thing. Okay, we're gonna take a period. Let's take the Impressionist time. You got all these guys, Monet, Manet, then was it Gauguin, all these guys. You know, they were all doing the same thing, Impressionism, and they were all looked at like these guys are a joke. You know, this isn't art. You know, not until they were dead did they get recognized. But each one of them bring their own unique style. You know, and if you look at what's going on in the art world today, man, you can see what's happening. How people, you know, like this, like that, like this, and each one of us has their own unique way of doing things. Each one of us has experienced a different, you know, rite of passage, so to speak, man, coming into this graffiti thing, you know, and have taken it to their own levels.
Each one of us could put something on paper and not even write totally something different. You would know who it is.
Exactly.
You know, just by the hand style, the style, the way that you start letters, you know, the way that you put letters together. You don't even have to put your own name down. Just write something else, and you would know. You lay it out, and you would know exactly who wrote what.
But that doesn't go for the whole culture. There's thousands of people writing, and to be a standout writer, it's the same as being like an all-star in the NBA.
Right.
Like something like this. Like I wrote with hundreds of people, but I kept going in a certain direction, or reinventing myself, or trying new things, or meeting up with new people, and you tend to separate yourself from your neighborhood friends to your immediate, and you grow and grow and grow. So this is a part of things that probably happened amongst those artists you mentioned back in time. They were probably part of different cliques, and there were all kinds of cats doing it. But what made Monet stand out from all the dudes that were in his neighborhood or his country, for that matter?
I guess in 100 years, you know the answer.
Freeze me.
But I think we get to a point where we study contemporary artists the same way we do the previous ones. We have to create an air where our living artists are appreciated while they're here. You know what I mean? And just really quickly, you know, Iz had a show on Dirty Pilot. He was trying to boost some canvases, and when he passed, all of them sold out. And thankfully, they canceled the orders because he could have benefited from the money while he was here. But it's a sad testament of things where people were only willing to, let me get the camp, he's no longer here. He could have benefited from that money. Like Dondi's work has skyrocketed 15 years, 16 years past him passing. Like that appreciation and value needs to be contemporary while we're here. We need to try and figure out how to, like I'm gonna go back to my skateboarding model, right? Like if Tony Hawk was still skating in the schoolyard, he'd be the best dude in the schoolyard. And it wasn't until there was a venue or a platform where this culture could come out of the schoolyard and people, like a family-friendly setting. I'm not talking about watering down the culture, but finding a platform where the art form or what they do could be appreciated on a grander scale, not just in a small area amongst our friends. And making the culture more inclusive and educating people on who these major players are while they're here before they pass, and creating a respect for living artists and not waiting for someone to die to be like, yo, I want to cop that paint from dude.
Yeah.
Like, I could use that money right now. Don't wait until, you know, I'm not here.
So
I think there are a series of steps that need to occur before we can get to a place where we could actually value people and study them, real history, conversations like some of the people you've mentioned.
That's exactly why we're here. You know, it's this dialogue, this conversation, and we're getting it out there. People are listening to it. There's no definitive answers to anything that we're talking about. It's just a discussion, and hopefully, you know, this will spark an interest to people, and they'll get into it. They'll look for
but
it.
unfortunately, like, you know, a lot of us are in our 50s or, you know, late 40s or whatnot, you know.
I'm 35.
Ish. Like Chino said, though, you know, like a lot of these people that we do need to cherish or whatnot, we need to do that today, not when they're gone and passed away, because that is too late. You know what I'm saying? As great as was, this and that, you know, it was just too late, man. I mean, you know, and having a show on Dirty Palo, whatever it is, you know, it's just too late.
Yeah, I was just citing that as an example. Like,
no,
you know,
even
like,
Stay High or whatever. Stay High was out there hustling things for $1, $5, and now he's gone. Now you can't buy it.
$10 canvases, yeah.
You know, you should have embraced him while he was alive. And you know what? Maybe like Chino said, that money would have helped. You know, but you know, we're not getting younger. Number one, number two. You know, every day that passes, we are losing a lot of us.
So buy my canvas.
Well,
yes,
I'll buy it tomorrow. I'll be honest.
He's the oldest.
When Stay High was alive, he came by the office. He was selling tags, frame. I bought one, and I had no problem. I paid $100.
Each other,
you know, people say you paid $100 for a tag. I'm like, dude, to me, that tag is priceless.
Yeah.
You know?
I own a Stay High. I have a Dondi sketch. I have several of the cats that aren't here that
that's
meant.
Because you're a hoarder. That's another.
Well, be that as it may. But I did it when it counted.
I got a cess piece.
I got a T-Kid.
There you go.
I got a Cess, I got a Bio, I got a Dero. I don't have a Rio Trey.
I got a rest. I don't have a Bio.
I got a Kennedy.
I got a T-Kid Black Book page.
Yo, I got two more. I got two more. Let's just get into these and just wrap it up.
Yeah, let's wrap it up.
So this is a good one because this is current.
It's cold in here.
You're gonna leave here and then go to a party. So this is current, right? So, and this is an argument that's going on all the time, everywhere you see all the time: street art versus graffiti. So is street art an evolution of writing, or is it a different discipline altogether? What is it and what is it not?
Some writers have turned into street artists, but a lot of street artists are just people that became good with airbrushes and became good with aerosol.
But are they two different things, or it's the same thing? It's just labeled
I think it's totally different, man. Although it's art, it all falls under the umbrella of art, you know, and aerosol art, whatever you want to call it or whatnot. But it's totally different. It's just night and day, man, night and day.
But a lot of people consider it graffiti when they see that it's being
the ones that don't know.
The
ones that don't know.
Exactly. And largely for that reason only, though.
Right.
Right.
You know,
the tool is familiar, but you know.
We had a conversation here a little while ago where we realized how street art is being used and how it got popular so quick. When big money's behind something, that thing is going to grow. Yeah, even though those street artists didn't get paid directly, big money was behind it because it was all about gentrification, disguising what's really going on. Look at the right hand while the left hand is fucking robbing you. Excuse me.
Where's Tracy?
But it's true. More inclusive to the everyday, like to the novice, to people that don't know about graffiti. And graffiti is indeed a language, right?
It is.
And if you don't speak the language, you're going to be a little bit intimidated. So when you walk in the room and everyone starts speaking in their native tongue, and you're the only one that don't speak it, you're a little uncomfortable. Now I know for a fact, I've gone to countries where I don't speak the language. I get off a plane in Bangkok, and I can't read any sign, but that figurative drawing for the restroom speaks to me. I know that that's a ladies' room and that's the men's room. It's a figurative drawing. So I don't speak the language. You don't write graffiti, you don't understand graffiti. But that figurative drawing, that painting on the wall, speaks to you very differently. You know what I mean? Graffiti excludes most people from the conversation. There's a lot going on, and you can't decipher any of it. You know what I mean? So street art has a very different appeal. But at the end of the day, like if we look at the two vehicles, if you take a wheel off or two, you're on a unicycle suddenly, right? You throw an extra wheel on it and you're on a tricycle, and you know, you put 4 wheels on your car. Like it's a different vehicle entirely once you've manipulated the fundamental structure of it, right? Is that it's a completely different vehicle. So there are graffiti artists who found homes and careers in street art, but for the most part, the vast majority of the street art guys don't understand this history. They don't have the same appreciation for the things that we do. You know what I mean?
I was talking with a writer. I was, famous writer. He made a He made a real good point. And he made a real good point. He said to me, you could probably answer it best in this way, and I kind of agree with it a little bit. He said, writers wrote for other writers. Street artists do art for the people. And I was like, I never thought about it like that. Because really, at the end of the day, writers wrote for writers. We didn't do it for the public. We did it for each other. It's like, yo, you see how up I am? You know, and I always thought, like, you know, that makes sense. It's just a different mentality, even though we might use the same tools. You know? And
Back then, that's what it was back then. Now it's a whole different
Now it's
story.
money.
Now it's
I think a graffiti writer will go out and still paint his name, but
You
will a
gotta
street
pay.
artist go out there and really do his street art without money or these kinds of
That's a good
things
point.
behind him?
That's a good
He's
point.
not going to creep out there and go do a 5-story building. He needs lights, cameras, money, all this bullshit. I'll go out and do a piece though. But that's for us. That's for us.
Yeah, yeah.
I do that for us.
Thank you. Please keep doing that.
I'm trying.
Also the luxury of time, the legality of it, you know, that also plays into the street art side of this umbrella that this art form falls under, because, you know, a graffiti artist or a writer or whatever doesn't have the luxury of extended amount of time to do their work or whatever. You know, there's a lot of variables. You got the police you got to watch out for. You have neighborhood watch groups and so on, this and that. But, you know, it becomes a lot easier if you're a street artist and you have the permission from the owner of the building or whatever it may be, the wall, this and that. You have the permit in your hand. You can come back next week or 2 weeks later. You can go fly and go on vacation, come back and finish your piece. As a writer, graffiti artist, you know, we're trained from the onset. Get in, do your shit, and get the fuck out.
I think a lot of these artists just were all like studio artists, and they chose to use the street because they could jumpstart their career into a gallery or something. You know?
Money.
Because they go in there
is
with
the
that,
motivation.
oh, he's a street artist.
And more people see it.
You know, they can't wait to get off the street. You know, they may be in the street, but they're not there like the way we've been. You know, tagging, doing like I can go take tag. Like Chino said, he walks around with a marker still, and that's never gonna change. You know, at that point, not for money, for nothing. You know, we've all made money off of graffiti here, but will we do it for free? Of course we will. Just not for a business or not
Shit,
for a
we're here
company.
Saturday night at 1
not for
o'clock in the
Pinterest.
morning. You don't think we're lifers, man? You know, 1 o'clock in the morning, we're here on a Saturday night. You think we're lifers? in
That
this
deserves
game.
it. All right, all right. So we're gonna wrap up the topics for now. Thanks for that. Thanks for your patience with that. So last thing, this is more for me than for the listeners, but the listeners get to enjoy this. So I know everybody in the room personally. You know, some people longer than the others. So I decided that I was gonna write each one a question that I would ask them if I was talking to them. So I have one specific question for each one. Just curious to see your answer. It could be a quick answer. It doesn't have to be no long answer. But let's see what you have to say. Let's start out with you, Seth.
Nice. Get me out of here.
So if you could go back in time, who would you have wanted to paint a whole car with and on what line?
Oh man, I'm a big Dondi fan, so that's the immediate reaction right there.
But you can only have one reaction.
That was my reaction.
Stop having
Isn't it?
multiple
Are we live?
reactions, man.
Yeah, that would be it.
It was Dondi on what line?
Oh, I don't care any line.
Pick a line.
man,
Right, it wouldn't matter what line it was, right? But
doesn't
Wouldn't matter. 5 line.
But if you did an 8, though, it's like extra long.
Listen, man, it's apples and oranges at that point. We're gonna rock.
No doubt. All right. Dero. Blue, what's up, man?
Hold on, he's sleeping.
I'm here,
Wake
baby.
him up, wake him
I'm
up.
on. I'm waiting.
He's up.
I'm waiting.
Text him.
Text him
This
the
is based.
question.
This
Text
is based
him from there,
Yeah,
man.
this is based on the conversation you and I had the other day. So, which is more valuable, fame amongst your peers or being world famous to the masses?
For me, that's pretty easy. Fame among my peers is more important and improving, right? It made me world famous. I am known all over the world, and I haven't been all over the world. So that definitely is more important, being famous among my peers.
Chino, you can only pick one. Right? You paint your only ever whole car with Dondi, or you have an endless supply of paint forever.
Oh, I rock with Dondi.
Good man.
Because he can go steal it.
He can steal
He can go steal his paint.
The paint will come.
I'll just go steal the paint. Fuck that. Keep it.
Hustle it.
Keep your paint.
That's hey, I feel that. Python, should writing as a skill be resume worthy in design? And why should it be? Can I put on my shit? Yo, I hit the 2s and 5s. I hit the 6s. I did a couple of end to ends, couple of window downs.
Oh.
Should that qualify me?
I don't know if you can throw back some 80s stuff, but dude, if you have good-looking, creative stuff, I mean, if you look at commercials nowadays, graffiti's all over the place. So definitely having that in your resume, something that's viable, something that looks good to the eye, absolutely. As an art director and somebody that would hire people based on looking at portfolios, if you show me something funky like that, definitely.
So writers have hope.
Yeah.
We can get a job. Reed.
Yes.
Here's a controversial one for you.
That's Mr. Controversial.
I even want to hear
Who won the race, is or in?
In.
For all-time most ups.
In.
How so?
He put in, let's say he put in enough work.
In a short period of time?
In a very short period of time.
Is his whole entire time?
Correct.
His shit was into the 79, 78s running up ends.
Yeah.
Running up 78.
He bombarded.
Double deckers.
That's for sure.
There's a lot of people that would disagree, but I feel you.
I painted with In, so I know how In paint, and this man was an animal.
Bio, would you rather have one piece in a book that sells 1 million copies or have been all-time, all-city king of New York City trains?
Well, if I'm the publisher of the book, then obviously the book. If I'm not the publisher, then
right enough to build it.
You know what I mean?
Get it.
So you say the book. All right. Trike, if you could bring back one writer for one time, for only one night, for one mission that has passed on, who would it be, and what mission would you go on?
That has passed on.
That's passed on. It's no longer with us.
I'll probably bring back Mr. Ice, man, president of GND. You know, we were tight, bombed a lot. The last time I bombed with him, man, was Kelly Park, and it was Ice, Hash, Condor, it was Diablo Llama, AFX2, myself, Bird 59, Code 2, Spunk Radar, and I know the whole line that was there that day. Yeah.
Is there any room left?
Huh?
That's a lot.
Man.
All in one car?
Yeah. What?
All on one car?
Yeah, that was that lineup the last time I bombed with him, man. It was crazy. It was good. It was good. Yeah, man. It was good. Mr. Ice, man.
So you bringing up Anchor. So who would you call the whole car king of kings? Lee, Scene, or Blade?
Ooh.
It's a good one.
It is a good one, man. And I have to actually put some thought into that. But I'm going to tell you real simple, man. You know why? All right? I would pick Blade. And I'll tell you why. Okay? Everything Blade did was original.
Yep.
Okay? And he did a lot of it. And it was constantly. And mind you, his style was simple. You know? Lee was very illustrative, and Scene was very illustrative. But Blade had this thing about him, man. You know, that he just did this freaky, like acid dream type stuff. Man.
Original shit.
You know, and it was original, and that's what I like. I like original shit, man. So I gotta say Blade, man.
It was so simple, it was complex, right?
Exactly,
Yeah,
man.
Like
And not for nothing, it was a lot of it.
There was a lot of it.
You know?
Who bombed more, Comet or Blade?
Oh, I start that one. I wouldn't even touch that one.
That's a loaded question there, buddy, man.
I wouldn't even touch that one.
That's a whole other show, I think.
Exactly, man.
By itself.
So anyway, with that, I want to thank all you gentlemen for coming, hanging out with me, sitting down for this conversation. I hope that the listeners out there got something out of this, that they can see that, as you can see, there's a lot of different opinions about what we do. There's a lot of history. There's a lot to learn. There's a lot that you should go and investigate for yourself. I encourage you to be a fact finder. If you're really interested in this culture, or if you're a part of this culture, go find out for yourself. Don't listen to what we're telling you. I mean, we're just creating the interest for you. You know, we're here. We're not going anywhere. We're going to continue to do what we do until we can't do it anymore. So y'all out there, y'all listening, go find out. You go down the line. You want to give anybody contacts, or you want to shout something out real quick?
Woo!
You good?
Shout out to the X-Men crew. You can follow Python at kenji.nyc.
Chino.
I'm good, man. I just appreciate y'all having me up here, man.
I love you having you here, man.
Likewise, man. It was great being here.
Sessism.
I'm good.
Wish for Sess.
No need for any
You'll
of
get
that.
35,000 more after this.
I'm good.
By the
I'm
morning.
full.
TK.
Yo, I just want to give you guys props. Thank you for having me over, and I want to, especially the guys in the mask and the ghost that came in, man. That was
The graph ghost.
Shit.
I just want to say thank you to you, DTF Radio, for having us and creating this platform where we could speak to people, and hopefully it can continue on a different level. I mean, thank you for having me.
Same here, brother. I'm just glad to be a part of the panel. Definitely big shout out to DTF Radio, Sade, my man, and it's a blessing to be among these gentlemen here. Thank you.
Big Trey. Yeah, man, this is something special. You guys are doing a phenomenal thing, man. I just want to, just my appreciation for all these legends that and thank you for allowing me to be here with these guys. This is something special, man. Just keep up with, what you're doing, because you're doing something positive. You're reaching out to all the people that are interested in this culture. It could be music, graffiti, it could be whatever it is. You know what I'm saying? So you're able to reach out to the people that are really, really interested in this culture. Saturday night, 1 o'clock in the morning, they gotta be interested listening to this.
How many people listening today?
200 to 400,000.
200 to 400,000.
That's just the people in my building.
Chino live in the projects.
all day.
So I want to also thank DTF Radio, Math, Facts on Wax, Sinatra. I want to give a quick shout out. We had Chris 217, the New York City legend, sitting in the room with us today.
Yes, sir. New York. Thank you very much.
We got my man Tech, Ox, MTA.
Yo.
I want to give a shout out to Merk. I hope you're healing, dogs. Fix that leg. Give a shout out to all the writers out there. Listen, this is for you. It's about you. And I just want to say one last thing to that one writer who was talking that shit to me.
Which one? Everybody.
Just one?
Everybody.
Where Brian at?
You might have said to me, and I know he's out there listening because he ain't got nothing else to do.
Where you at?
Check this out. You might think that because you did what you did, I'm on the radio talking right now. But just understand that if me and all the other guys sitting in this room did what we did, there would be no reason to remember you. Remember that shit. Don't play yourself.
Damn.
Peace out, people.
That wasn't personal.
That was pretty direct.